Chapter 281. Long Tao did not hide his strength and took the lead to summon the prehistoric behemoth that he had seen in the Radiant Moon Palace. Sea King Chalk Mosasaurus. When Long Tao summoned the Sea King Chalk Mosasaur, it immediately ignited the fighting spirit of the spirit chi professionals present. The eyes of these spirit chi professionals, who had thought that a disaster was coming, flashed with hope. The Sea King Chalk Mosasaurus had been Long Tao's signature Fey since the prehistoric epoch. However, apart from this Sea King Chalk Mosasaurus, he did not know if Long Tao had other trump cards. At present, the Sea King Chalk Mosasaurus was still Platinum X/Fantasy 3. Clearly, Long Tao was still stuck at the standard of a B-rank spirit chi professional and had not broken through to A rank. As long as Long Tao broke through to A rank, this Platinum X/Fantasy 3 Sea King Chalk Mosasaurus could break through to Diamond. At that time, Long Tao could be called a King-class expert. However, Long Tao's current strength was already more amazing than some ordinary King-class experts' combat power. It was extremely difficult for a Fantasy breed Fey to evolve to Fantasy 3. Zhao Xiaochun and Fang Duo also summoned their Feys and launched an attack on the incoming Demon Sea. Chen Hongfeng didn't step forward. He summoned his contracted gold Fey, the huge-tailed swamp lizard, and commanded it to use the swamp to control and deal magic damage to the demon army. He finally knew why Zhao Xiaochun's title in the Radiance 100 sequence was Critical Needle Lady. It was because Zhao Xiaochun's Fey was a Platinum V/Fantasy 2 Cold Needle Sea Urchin. The Cold Needle Sea Urchin was a Fey that pushed its output to the extreme. However, while Feys like the Cold Needle Sea Urchin pursued extreme output, its defense was almost at the bottom among Platinum Feys. In fact, among Platinum Feys, the Cold Needle Sea Urchin could be described as fragile as paper. Shi Su looked at the Platinum V/Fantasy 2 Cold Needle Sea Urchin that Zhao Xiaochun had summoned and exclaimed. This black-hearted maggot signature Fey, the Cold Needle Sea Urchin, has actually been upgraded to Fantasy 2. Could it be that Zhao Xiaochun hasn't spent any resources on her trump card during this time? With that thought in mind, Shi Su shook his head. Based on Shi Su's understanding of Zhao Xiaochun's trump card had probably become even stronger. It seemed like Zhao Xiaochun would make a move in the Radiance 100 sequence rankings this year or next year. Looking at Zhao Xiaochun's stance, she seemed to be planning on charging into the top 10. Although Zhao Xiaochun ate a lot, was evil, and had a foul mouth, Shi Su couldn't help but sigh at Zhao Xiaochun's talent. Even among the Radiance 100, Zhao Xiaochun's talent could be considered top-notch. With that thought, Shi Su looked at Lin Yuan, who was standing beside him. Shi Su was speechless. In terms of talent, who could match the youth standing next to him at this age? If there was really a comparison, it would probably be that young lady who possessed a bronze fantasy breed Fey in Redbud City. Shi Su shook his head and let his Platinum /Fantasy I Silent Thunder Armored Crocodile use its Platinum skill, 100 Armor Demonstration. Those adventurers who rushed forward to fight in the Demon Sea, as well as Long Tao, Zhao Xiaochun, and Fang Duoduo's contracted Feys, immediately put on a layer of Thunder Elemental armor. These Thunder Elemental armors also had fine thunder patterns on them. However, after putting on the Raging Thunder armor, Shi Su's expression was a little heavy. This was because Shi Su's contracted Fey, the Silent Thunder Armored Crocodile, could only release over 100 Raging Thunder armor pieces. This was considered extremely high among spirit chi professionals who specialized in defense. However, there were simply too many of these adventurers, and Shi Su could only take care of over 100 of them. However, when the demon army really clashed with the human adventurers, Shi Su was surprised to find that there were too many of them. Whenever a demon was about to attack the human adventurers, and these human adventurers couldn't be bothered to parry, a wisp of gravel would appear on the ground to block the demon's attack. Even if some gravel was not enough to completely block the demon's attack, it could still minimize the damage caused by the demon. This scene was noticed by many adventurers. The human adventurers who noticed this scene couldn't help but turn their attention to the back of the team. They looked at the silver-masked youth who was releasing spirit chi inside the strange plant and did not speak much but had an indifferent bearing. Previously, the adventurers' attention had been on Long Tao, Fang Duo, Zhao Xiaochun, and Shi Su. Long Tao, Shi Su, Zhao Xiaochun, and Fang Duo, the 4 Radiance 100 sequence members, held the hope of these adventurers in desperate situations. However, when many people saw this strange plant, a name flashed in their minds. This name was Black. If Shi Su's Raging Thunder armor could allow high-grade adventurers to hit their output without any worries, they did not need to worry about defending against the attacks that they would face in defense. In that case, Black manipulating the gravel to block the attack from the Demon Sea was equivalent to a redemption. It was to redeem the lives of the low-level adventurers who were fighting for survival in the catastrophe of the Demon Sea. Lin Yuan commanded Red Thorn to release a large number of spores from the spore cavity. However, when these spores took root on the large number of demon flesh on the battlefield, Red Thorn did not let all of them hatch. Instead, it let one of the spores absorb the huge amount of energy in the demon flesh that had just died, evolve into a ramete, and increase its grade to the limit that a ramete could reach. Then, it let the ramete devour the demon flesh on this battlefield. Whenever a ramete was smashed by the demon, Red Thorn would control another spore to hatch next to the smashed ramete. Previously, Red Thorn had taken the massive path of child rametes and rametes. However, according to the situation on the battlefield this time, Lin Yuan let Red Thorn change to the elite path. After changing to the elite path, the rametes in the Sea of Flowers had become much sparser. However, only such rametes could devour the energy in the demon flesh unscrupulously. Otherwise, if the young child rametes devoured the Class 3 abyssal demon flesh that was equivalent to a gold fey, they would be destroyed by the burning characteristic of the demon flesh. Only these pinnacle elite-grade rametes could devour the Class 3 abyssal demon flesh without withering due to the burning characteristic of the demon flesh. Every bundle of gravel that Lin Yuan controlled was equivalent to saving a low-grade adventurer's life. Although there would still be adventurers falling under the attack of the demon army in this web of life made of gravel, the number of fallen adventurers was extremely small. Among these adventurers, there were also many healing-type spirit chi professionals. This was because teams without healing-type spirit chi professionals would rarely rush to this controlled Class 3 abyss dimensional rift to train. Because of the fine gravel, even if those low-grade adventurers were seriously injured, they would be able to recover with the healing of the healing-type spirit chi professionals. Because of the fine gravel, even if those low-grade adventurers were seriously injured, they would be able to recover with the healing of the healing-type spirit chi professionals. Baidu read the latest chapter of the Beast Evolution Merchant Claw Bookhouse for free. Chapter 282. Lin Yuan no longer needed to inject spiritual power into Red Thorn's body to let it release spores. Since Red Thorn was taking the elite route this time, it did not need to spit out too many spores from the spore cavity. With the large amount of flesh and blood of the demons that had just died on the battlefield, Red Thorn no longer had any pressure to produce rametes. This saved a lot of spiritual power in Lin Yuan's body. Using the Source Sand's simple defensive behavior on this huge battlefield required a lot of Lin Yuan's mind and spiritual power. However, after Lin Yuan opened the Spirit Chi imprint that had accumulated a lot of Spirit Chi over the past month, combined with the Source Sand's exclusive skill, Sand Control, the amount of spiritual power that he needed to consume to maintain this simple protection for the low-grade adventurers on the battlefield was still within the range that he could bear. At the same time, Lin Yuan summoned his Silver Eye/Fantasy Eye healing-type Fae, Jasmine Lily. Almost every famous expert of the younger generation had their own signature Fae. For example, Long Tao's signature Fae was the Sea King Chalk Mosasaur, Shi Su's signature Fae was the Silent Thunder Armored Crocodile, and Zhao Xiaochun's signature Fae was the Cold Needle Sea Urchin. However, Black's signature Fae had always been a huge controversy between the Jasmine Lily and Red Thorn on Star Web. Regardless of whether it was the Silver/Fantasy Jasmine Lily or Red Thorn that Lin Yuan had summoned as Black, their performance in the Millstone Town battle had been too dazzling. When Lin Yuan summoned the Silver/Fantasy Jasmine Lily and injected spiritual power into it, The jasmine lily's emerald green petals immediately rippled with a green haze. Each light spot that contained a huge amount of vitality flew out of the jasmine lily's flower head like a firefly. Whenever a firefly light landed on an injured spirit chi professional, it would immediately heal the injured spirit chi professional. Although some low-grade spirit chi professionals would lose their arms in the battle with the demon sea, Lin Yuan could only do so much to keep them alive. However, all Lin Yuan could do was to preserve their lives. If he wanted to use the jasmine lily's exclusive skill, severed limbs, to regenerate their severed arms, it would undoubtedly consume a lot of his spiritual power. The consumption of spiritual power in Lin Yuan's body was equivalent to him saving fewer adventurers' lives. The gathered demon sea was ultimately like a river without a source. Even if there were a lot of them, they could not be replenished after being killed. After nearly 4 hours of killing, the last pinnacle level, for demon in this huge sea of demons turned into dust after Long Tao used the Sea Emperor Dragon Breath skill of the Platinum X/Fantasy 3 Sea King Chalk Mosasaurus. As this pinnacle class 4 demon turned into dust, the demon sea was completely defeated. The low-grade adventurers all sat on the ground and took in deep breaths of the abyss-dimensional rift scorching sulfuric air. However, this air, which they usually felt disgusting, now smelled exceptionally sweet. At that moment, Lin Yuan, Long Tao, Shi Su, Zhao Xiaochun, and Fang Duo might not feel like they had survived a calamity. Such a threat was not fatal to experts like Lin Yuan, Shi Su, Long Tao, Fang Duo, and Zhao Xiaochun. Even if he didn't use the source-type extreme token that his master, the Moon Empress, had given him, he would be able to use it once. Just the scarlet crystal spider that the mother of Bloodbath had given him could guarantee his safety. For those low-grade adventurers, this war with the demon sea was a new lease of life. The 5 people in front of them were the 5 heavenly gods who had brought new life when they were at the most desperate time of their lives and felt the fear of death. The 5 people in front of them were the 5 heavenly gods who had given them a new lease of life when they were at the most desperate point of their lives, when they were overwhelmed by the sea of demons and felt the fear of death. To these adventurers, the 5 celestial gods weren't just their hope, but they were also the hope of the Radiance Federation's younger generation and the Radiance Federation. However, although Long Tao, Zhao Xiaochun, and Fang Duo's offensive had established the victory of this demon sea's battle intent. But to these low-ranked adventurers, every wisp of yellow sand was the true salvation of their lives. Many low-grade adventurers could not remember how many times they had been in despair. When they thought that their lives were about to wither in the demon sea, those wisps of yellow sand had helped them support the courage to survive and build a bridge to life. Some adventurers had even been saved by those wisps of sand no less than 100 times during these 4 hours of fighting with the demon sea. Every one of the 100 attacks from the demons that landed on his body resulted in a death. However, each time they died, they would pass the shadow of death under the protection of the yellow sand and move toward the dawn of life. These low-grade adventurers looked at the silver-masked youth with burning eyes. Someone shouted, "Black," and all these low-level adventurers rushed towards the silver-masked youth. Red Thorn sensed a large number of creatures running toward Lin Yuan and immediately got into an attack stance. Lin Yuan hurriedly appeased Red Thorn, but at that moment, these low-grade adventurers had already run close to him. They lifted him up and threw him high into the sky. These low-grade adventurers' throats were stuck in these low-grade adventurers' throats. These low-grade adventurers did not know what to say and only knew to shout. "Black! Long live! This overwhelming black! Long live!" In this controlled Class 3 abyss-dimensional rift, a voice that was even louder than the demon sea's roar. "Long live!" It was blessings, gratitude, faith, and radiance. Long Tao stood beside Shi Su and looked at Black, who was caught and thrown by the low-grade adventurer, with a carefree smile on his face. Young people nowadays are really incredible. If old people like us don't work hard, we will soon be left behind by these young people. Shi Su rolled his eyes at Long Tao and said, "Don't. You're an old man, and I'm still a young man. Just don't be left behind by me." Shi Shugang immediately regretted his words. Long Tao looked at Shi Su with a faint smile, which made Shi Su shiver. How could Shi Su suddenly forget that Long Tao was publicly acknowledged by the Radiance 100 members as a yin-yang person? The dialogue between yin and yang could turn into countless soft knives that could pierce one's heart. Sure enough, Shi Su only heard Long Tao say, "I apologize to you on behalf of our Dragon Gate Guild Club's member, Zhao Xiaochun. If it wasn't for Zhao Xiaochun, you wouldn't have invested 80 million Radiance dollars and only earned 22 Radiance dollars in the end. You might have lost all your 80 million Radiance dollars, but this investment can also bring you growth." Shi Su took a deep breath and thought that Long Tao was already an old yin-yang person, so he had been telling himself not to be angry. Baiduan read the latest chapter of the Imperial Beast Evolution Merchant Claw Book House for free. Chapter 283. However, when Shi Su turned his head, he saw Zhao Xiaochun standing there. He had no idea when she had taken out roasted spinach and was stuffing it into her mouth. Shi Su was so angry that he stared at Zhao Xiaochun with his eyes wide open. Zhao Xiaochun looked at the silver-masked youth who had been thrown into the air, and her face suddenly turned pink. He looked at Fang Duo and said, "Fang Duo, get me Black's number. I want all of Black's contact information in 3 minutes." Fang Duo looked at Zhao Xiaochun with his mouth agape. "Didn't you talk about treating Lin Yuan and Lu Jie to a meal?" Zhao Xiaochun looked at Fang Duo like he was an idiot. "Big brother, what does me treating Lin Yuan to a meal have to do with knowing Black's contact information? They're all so handsome, yet I, Zhao Xiaochun, can't get to know them." Suddenly, Zhao Xiaochun turned her head and saw Shi Su staring at her with wide eyes. Zhao Xiaochun chuckled evilly. "Iron fool, you can't see clearly. Use a cutter to cut your eyes." After saying that, Zhao Xiaochun patted Fang Duo, who was next to her. Fang Duo was helpless, but he understood what she meant. Skr. Shi Su suddenly felt his blood rush to his head, and then he was so angry that his eyes became moist. Zhao Xiaochun smiled happily when she saw that Shi Su was infuriated by her. Although Shi Su's 5 chain restaurants had been taken over by Zhao Xiaochun had a clear conscience. Zhao Xiaochun patted her stomach with some melancholy. Ever since his contracted source-type life form had matured, he had never tasted satiety. However, he had become hungry and stronger. Although Shi Su was jokingly called the Working Emperor in the Radiance Federation's 100 sequence, he was definitely not the poorest person in the Radiance 100 sequence. The poorest person in the Radiance 100 sequence would probably be Zhao Xiaochun herself. Although Zhao Xiaochun had lost count of how many restaurants in the royal capital had been ruined, she had used the money she had earned to compensate them after she had ruined them. Moreover, the compensation was not small. If the person who received the compensation was willing, he could open another restaurant of a similar scale. Zhao Xiaochun had used her other identity to pay out the compensation. It was just that these people who received the compensation would probably never want to open a restaurant again in this life. Zhao Xiaochun even emptied her purse to compensate Shi Su for the loss of his 5 restaurant chains. Previously, when Shi Su had started a live stream on Star Web, Zhao Xiaochun had used her other identity to reward Shi Su with a surprise gift box. The surprise gift box was a very special reward mode on Star Web. Normal tipping on the Star Web required a very small processing fee. However, if the reward amount was placed in the surprise gift box, there would be no processing fee. However, the Star Web streamers who received the surprise gift box wouldn't know the amount of the reward and would only receive a notification of the gift box. This surprise gift box could only be opened 1 year later on the same day. Zhao Xiaochun calculated the time. In a few days, Shi Su would be able to open the surprise gift box containing her huge compensation. Although Zhao Xiaochun's mouth was unforgiving, she did not want her body to change after contracting a source-type life form. Instead, it would bring other troubles to others. The reason why Zhao Xiaochun rewarded Shi Su with a surprise gift box was because the compensation involved was too high. Even if Star Web would only take a very small processing fee, Zhao Xiaochun was not willing to waste it. In her opinion, wouldn't it be better to leave this money for other restaurants as compensation? As a Radiance 100 sequence member, Zhao Xiaochun naturally had her own pride. Zhao Xiaochun didn't allow others to pay for her own problems, so Zhao Xiaochun was now extremely poor. If she had not relied on her other identity to be a big eater on Star Web, she might not even be able to afford the compensation. Of course, eating a lot of food was considered a kind of meticulous nurturing for Zhao Xiaochun's contracted source-type life form. For some reason, Zhao Xiaochun suddenly felt a little melancholic. Could she apply to Star Web to let Su discover her other identity's surprise gift box 2 days later? Who asked Su to speak so loudly to her? It was too much. Crow was walking on the purplish-black soil of the controlled Class 3 Abyss Dimensional Rift and subconsciously killed 2 Class 3 demons. However, after killing these 2 Class 3 demons, Crow felt that something was wrong. The Radiance Federation's people were all very bad. They had taken away my Heaven and Earth Fae, the phoenix-perching Chinese parasol tree. How could I help kill 2 Class 3 demons in the Abyss Dimensional Rift in the Radiance Federation's territory? Crow was furious, but it could not say any harsh words now. Crow's face had been beaten into a pig's head. After Crow was forced out of the valley, it immediately performed a fatal rhythm and phase charge on its body's face. After beating its body's face into a pig's head, the anger in Crow's heart was only reduced by 1%. If not for the fact that Crow still needed to use this body to complete her plan, she would have smashed this body into smithereens with a single slap on the head. Come, let's reduce the majestic anger in its heart again. Crow already knew that it could not obtain the phoenix-perching Chinese parasol tree no matter what. Even if it rushed over from tens of thousands of miles away, it would be too late and would not have the chance to take back the phoenix-perching Chinese parasol tree that it had been storing in the golden disk. Apart from being angry, Crow had a kind of fear that came from the bottom of its heart. This was because such a big change had occurred in the controlled Class 3 Abyss Dimensional Rift in the royal capital, and the Radiance Federation would definitely not ignore it. If the Radiance Federation thoroughly investigated the other controlled Class 3 Abyss Dimensional Rifts, then Lord 7th Page War's plan to let it hold back would be completely exposed. With this thought, the fear that had emerged from the bottom of Crow's heart became even greater. Immediately after, Crow steeled its heart and no longer hesitated. It made a crazy and ruthless decision. Crow now planned to activate this controlled Class 3 Abyss Dimensional Rift, which was connected to the Abyss World's hub. It would break the protective layer outside the source-type item that it had hidden in the hub, allowing this controlled Class 3 Abyss Dimensional Rift to directly reach the standard of a Class 4 Abyss Dimensional Rift. Moreover, it would drip its suzerain/myth 2 Fey essence blood in this body's right eye onto that hub. As long as it quickly burned this drop of essence blood, it would be able to expand the Class 4 Abyss Dimensional Rift's entrance. Baidu read the latest chapter of the Imperial Beast Evolution Merchant Claw Book House for free. Chapter 284. This way, there would be a chance for a few more Class 6 demons in the Abyss world to come to this controlled Class 3 Abyss Dimensional Rift. When Crow's main body arrived, there would be a chance to take back the phoenix-perching Chinese parasol tree. In fact, this Class 4 Abyss Dimensional Rift's sea of demons and Class 6 demons that were equivalent to suzerain Fays could even attract the Radiance Federation's attention. This would give Crow a chance to sneak into the other controlled Class 3 Abyss Dimensional Rifts in the Radiance Federation. He took out the source-type items wrapped in protective layers that Crow had hidden before. This way, even if Crow failed, it would not ruin Lord 7th Page War's plan. Crow understood that this was the only way it could survive from Lord 7th Page War's hands. However, Crow had just arrived at the hub of this controlled Class 3 Abyss Dimensional Rift that connected to the Abyss world and had not had time to operate. It suddenly felt a trace of a suzerain phase aura. Crow used a drop of essence blood as a medium and used its exclusive skill to control this body into a blood mist. Crow felt that its drop of essence blood, which was a pinnacle suzerain/myth 2 Fey, was also completely controlled by someone. This caused Crow to lose its sense of this controlled Class 3 abyss-dimensional rift. Crow's main body, which was tens of thousands of kilometers away, opened its eyes, which emitted monstrous flames of anger. However, when Crow suddenly saw the golden datura flower blooming on the table, his entire body was drenched in cold sweat from head to toe. Crow had already firmly remembered the trace of suzerain Fae's aura that had just emerged. The mother of Bloodbath was in its human form in the air of this controlled Class 3 abyss-dimensional rift. Its red waist-length hair was blown by the strong wind like a fluttering red mist. The mother of Bloodbath held a drop of black blood in one hand and frowned slightly. The law rune that the mother of Bloodbath had comprehended to become a myth-breed Fae was the blood law rune. Looking at this drop of black blood, the mother of Bloodbath read softly. The blood of a pinnacle suzerain/myth 2 avian Fae. This blood smells really bad. It should be a dark-type Fae that likes to eat carrion like crows or vultures. However, the mother of Bloodbath looked at the source-type item wrapped in a layer of energy protective film in its other hand. The mother of Bloodbath's eyebrows furrowed deeply. The mother of Bloodbath was glad that it had arrived at the hub of the controlled Class 3 abyss-dimensional rift that was connected to the abyss world. If he hadn't come back then, it would have been a disaster. However, be it the black blood of the pinnacle suzerain/myth 2 Fae in his left hand or the source-type item wrapped in a layer of protective film, they were both extremely powerful. No matter what, Lin Yuan had to inform the Moon Empress. A bright and somewhat helpless smile hung on Lin Yuan's face behind the mask. Lin Yuan's hair and clothes were a little messy. These adventurers were simply too enthusiastic. If it wasn't for genius tool transformation, it would have been knocked off by some adventurer. However, after this revelry, Lin Yuan could empathize with these low-grade adventurers' survival after the calamity. Lin Yuan could not help but think. If he was still unable to sense spiritual power and obtained this creation master's ability, Morbius, which he had contracted at the age of 8, would awaken again. He was afraid that he and these low-level adventurers were in the same situation. When danger came, he still could not control his own fate. However, after experiencing this kind of empathizing, Lin Yuan suddenly understood the responsibility of being an expert. The responsibility of such an expert was not to restrain but to casually raise a hand when he had the ability to shield one side from the storm. Long Tao took Zhao Xiaochun, Fang Duo, and Shen Hongfeng to say goodbye to Lin Yuan, and then they set off. Long Tao planned to report Shen Hongfeng as the 5th member of the Dragon Gate Guild Club's tournament team according to the previous plan. When Shen Hongfeng left, he also specially greeted Lin Yuan and gave him a thumbs up. If Shen Hongfeng had still regarded Black as his opponent before, after experiencing this Demon Sea battle, he had already placed Black in the same position as Fang Duo and Zhao Xiaochun. Shen Hongfeng no longer regarded Black as his opponent but as a goal that he looked up to and wanted to pursue. Shi Su patted Lin Yuan's shoulder and said, "The tournament will start in 3 days. There are still 3 days before the tournament. I should head back. I still have to live stream on Star Web for the next 2 days." At this point, Shi Su let out a sigh. The higher the grade of the Spirit Chi professional, the more resources they required. Even if Shi Su was a Radiance 100 and had the Radiance Federation's official resources, how could he have enough resources to upgrade his phase grade and quality? When Lin Yuan heard Shi Su's sigh and recalled the conversation between Zhao Xiaochun and Shi Su, he could not help but ask. "Brother Shi, are there any resources that are in short supply?" Shi Su hurriedly replied, "That's right." "Stop. Don't call me Brother Shi. Call me Brother Su. Don't you think it's weird to call me Brother Shi?" Lin Yuan looked at Shi Su in surprise and could not help but think that Shi Su was indeed a man who could fight evenly with Zhao Xiaochun. Shi Su's way of thinking was not something an ordinary person could possess. "All right, Brother Su." When Shi Su heard Lin Yuan's words, his smile turned into the shape of a cornflower. However, Shi Su immediately became melancholic again. "I don't lack resources, but there are too few defense-type thunder-type Faes that are more suitable for a traditional defense type like me." As Shi Su spoke, he thought of the 5 chain restaurants that had closed down and felt his eyes moisten again. Lin Yuan nodded and did not speak again. This was because Lin Yuan did not have a defense-type thunder-type Fey that was suitable for Shi Su to walk the traditional defense-type path. At that time, Shi Su had helped him block that blow, and Lin Yuan remembered it in his heart, just like this defense-type thunder-type Fey. Not long after Shi Su left, the mother of Bloodbath's strange and pleasant voice rang in Lin Yuan's ears. When Lin Yuan lowered his head, he found that the mother of Bloodbath had returned at some point and was lying on the emerald leaf-shaped diamond face storage box. After listening to the mother of Bloodbath's discovery at the hub that connected to the Abyss world, Lin Yuan immediately realized the seriousness of the problem. After leaving this controlled Class 3 Abyss dimensional rift with the mother of Bloodbath, Lin Yuan immediately contacted his master, the Moon Empress. He wanted to read the latest chapter of the Beast Evolution Merchant Claw Bookhouse for free. Chapter 285. It was close to noon, and the autumn breeze was chilly. However, even though it was late autumn, the bright and beautiful sunlight was still warm. The Moon Empress was in the inner palace of the Radiant Moon Palace. She was hugging a snow-white rabbit that didn't have a trace of mixed fur and looked no different from ordinary rabbits. At the same time, she instructed the 4 tea attendants, Kai Cha and Shi Cha, to transplant the lotus flowers in the inner palace's lotus pond. The pure white rabbit was eating the carrot in its arms with a crunch 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 sound, appearing to be very satisfied. Under the Moon Empress' meticulous nurturing, half of the dozens of lotus flowers in the inner palace's lotus pond had entered a dormant state. Once these lotus flowers recovered from their dormancy, they would be able to comprehend the willpower rune and become suzerain. Although half of the lotus flowers in the lotus pond had entered a dormant state, the lotus pond seemed to be more prosperous. As compared to before, the lotus pond seemed to be more prosperous. This was because the remaining dozen lotus flowers that hadn't entered a dormant state were still at Diamond X/Legend. After absorbing the medicinal liquid's energy, these lotus fays that hadn't entered a dormant state had become more luxuriant, and the lotus flowers that bloomed were also more beautiful. However, these luxuriant and brightly bloomed Diamond X/Legend lotus flowers were no longer qualified to stay in the Radiant Moon Palace's inner palace's lotus pond. From now on, these Diamond X/Legend lotus fays would be moved from the Radiant Moon Palace's inner palace's lotus pond to the Radiant Moon Palace's outer gardens pond. At that moment, the Moon Empress' cell phone, which usually didn't ring even once in a few months, suddenly rang. When the Moon Empress took a look, she immediately revealed a gentle smile. However, not long after picking up the phone, although the Moon Empress' tone was gentle and had indescribable concern, her eyes suddenly emitted a terrifying pressure. This terrifying pressure made those Diamond X/Legend lotus fays, which were originally swaying their flowers and praying to be able to stay in the Radiant Moon Palace's inner palace's lotus pond again, to the point that they all became listless in fear. At the same time, Kai Cha and Shi Cha also revealed horrified expressions. Kai Cha and Shi Cha weren't surprised by the Moon Empress aura, but they didn't know why she was so angry. After hanging up the phone, the Moon Empress walked out of the inner palace of the Radiant Moon Palace. The Moon Empress stood in the corridor outside the Radiant Moon Palace and looked at the dazzling noon sun as she caressed the pure white bunny in her arms. Our generation has restrained our edge for so many years, yet there are actually people who dare to look down on the Radiance Federation and harbor evil thoughts. When the pure white bunny in the Moon Empress' arms heard the Moon Empress' words, its eyes suddenly surged with an extremely luxurious purple color. The noon sun in the sky seemed to have completely darkened for a moment. At that moment, many people in the Radiance Federation suddenly felt that it was still noon. Why did it feel like it had suddenly become a long night with only a bright moon hanging in the sky? The pure white rabbit's action of gnawing on the carrot slowed down, and its 2 long ears rubbed against the Moon Empress' palm as though it was comforting the Moon Empress and asking her not to be angry. A gust of autumn wind fluttered the corner of the Moon Empress's moon-colored robe and wrinkled the clear pool beneath the long corridor. It also blew a lock of hair from the Moon Empress' forehead to her neck. All of a sudden, a chuckle blended into the wind. When the wind blows, it will wrinkle the spring water. However, Emperor class and myth breeds aren't qualified to wrinkle the spring water. After Lin Yuan explained the situation to his master, the Moon Empress, he didn't have to worry anymore. Lin Yuan knew that his current ability wasn't enough to worry so much and think so much. After hanging up the phone, Lin Yuan started to check on his gains from the controlled Class 3 Abyss Dimensional Rift for the past month. Lin Yuan immediately looked for a nearby guest house. When Lin Yuan came out of the controlled Class 3 Abyss Dimensional Rift, he had already taken off the silver mask that Genius had transformed into. He had regained his Class 2 Creation Master status. Genius had also transformed into a two-tailed white kitten and was standing on Lin Yuan's shoulder. While walking, Genius used its soft, long, and white face to rub against Lin Yuan's cheek intimately. When Lin Yuan saw it, he immediately carried Genius in his arms and gently scratched Genius' chin. Genius immediately raised its head and used its big blue eyes to look at Lin Yuan while letting out a comfortable gulp, gulp sound. Lin Yuan couldn't help but think. Genius, this little thing, is really getting more and more clingy. An 18-year-old sunny youth with a natural aura was wearing white and blue spirit chi clothes, making him look abnormally pleasing to the eyes. Moreover, this sunny youth was hugging a petite and cute white kitten. After Lin Yuan checked into the guest house, he was immediately warmly received by the grandpa and grandma who ran the guest house. During lunch, they gave Lin Yuan an extra bowl of rice and persuaded him to eat 4 more pieces of ribs before allowing him to return to the guest house's room. Lin Yuan naturally wouldn't reject such friendly and enthusiastic treatment, but it made Lin Yuan's stomach suffer. Lin Yuan suddenly realized that this meal seemed to be the only meal that he had eaten in this life. After returning to his room in the guest house, Lin Yuan washed up and washed off the dust from the training. This training had caused Lin Yuan's hands to be stained with plenty of blood, but it didn't make Lin Yuan cruel. Instead, it allowed Lin Yuan to understand how to measure a person's heart and whether they were good or evil in this great world. He had to measure whether he should treat others like a spring breeze or treat them as cold as frost. Everything was just a ruler placed horizontally in one's heart. In the past, Lin Yuan only had this ruler, but he didn't draw a scale on it. But now, Lin Yuan had drawn a scale on this ruler in his heart. This scale was Lin Yuan's most important gain over the past month, apart from having a better grasp of the source sand. The gains from heaven and earth phase were just progress, but the progress of the mind was called growth. After washing up, Lin Yuan logged into the star web and contacted Tian Ningning. Just as Lin Yuan was about to contact Tian Ningning, he realized that the number of messages that Tian Ningning had sent him was already 999 plus. Lin Yuan felt even more apologetic in his heart. Tian Ningning had staked everything on this and become his exclusive reporter. Furthermore, Tian Ningning had shown an extremely sincere attitude back then and had immediately signed a 10-year contract. According to the contents of the contract that Tian Ningning had drafted, during the 10-year period, Tian Ningning had to fulfill the obligations of the travel contract perfectly. However, Lin Yuan had the right to stop the contract at any time. Tian Ningning was betting on her career as a star web columnist as a show of sincerity. Chapter 286. Lin Yuan clicked on all the messages that Tian Ningning had sent and carefully read them from beginning to end. Then, Lin Yuan sent all the information that he had obtained from Star Web's exclusive achievement, his application to join the Radiance 100 sequence, and everything that had happened in the past month or so. He did not need Tian Ningning to ask him one by one. Lin Yuan did not hide the Scarlet Flame Vortex in the controlled Class 3 Abyss Dimensional Rift and the Demon Tide that had suddenly arrived due to the Flame Vortex. This was because there were many adventurers who had experienced this incident at that time. Apart from the Demon Tide, the moment the Scarlet Flame Vortex vanished, the adventurers at the controlled Class 3 Abyss Dimensional Rift's entrance had already left the controlled Class 3 Abyss Dimensional Rift. Therefore, this matter could not be concealed even if he wanted to. Lin Yuan saw that there were already relevant reports on Star Web, but these reports were not comprehensive enough. After all, those adventurers who had been staying at the entrance did not know what had happened. Long Tao, Shi Su, Zhao Xiaochun, and Fang Duo, these Radiant's 100 sequence members also had their own exclusive reporters. Long Tao, Shi Su, Zhao Xiaochun, and Fong Duoduo's exclusive reporters would ask about this matter. Long Tao, Shi Su, Zhao Xiaochun, and Fong Duoduo would definitely tell him everything. As Lin Yuan's exclusive reporter, Lin Yuan naturally would not let her lose this opportunity to get first-hand information. Finally, Lin Yuan also expressed his apology to Tian Ningning in the last message. Tian Ningning was currently staring at Black's profile picture on Star Web in a daze. She had not had a good time for the past month. As Black's exclusive reporter, she did not know about the news that Black had obtained the Celestial Stairway's exclusive achievement. The Radiant Sacred Hall had announced the big news that Black was going to participate in the Radiant's 100 sequence selection, and the world knew about it. However, Tian Ningning herself did not know at all. Tian Ningning had also lost contact with Black. The Star Web officials had also given Tian Ningning a lot of pressure. As an exclusive reporter, she did not even send an article related to the person she was reporting on. However, Tian Ningning had always insisted on her contract with Lin Yuan and was not like other exclusive reporters. When she could not contact the person she was reporting on, she carried out false reports without any substantial content to share the Star Web's pressure on her. For some reason, Tian Ningning's heart, which was filled with courage and passion, felt a little bitter. Tian Ningning looked at Black's profile picture. She had a lot of questions, but she didn't know what to ask first. An unfamiliar feeling lingered in Tian Ningning's heart, tangling with the hot blood from before. It actually made Tian Ningning's heart ache a little. But in the end, just as Tian Ningning was about to carry out the reporter's routine questioning. At this time, Tian Ningning suddenly noticed that there was a new message notification on Black's profile picture that she had been staring at and setting special attention to. Tian Ningning clicked on Black's profile picture and received a long message. When Tian Ningning read the news, the bitterness in her heart was swept away, and her blood began to boil again. Because this was a very detailed message, it had already described in detail the story of what happened to Black during this period of time. The content of the story was clear and organized. Occasionally, some of the content had the unique humor of a young man. However, when Tian Ningning saw the Sea of Demons, her heart skipped a beat. No matter how detailed the story was, it was just a summary, but under the summary, there was a hidden crisis and a moment of life and death. After reading the content for a long time, Tian Ningning still felt a lingering fear in her heart. However, Tian Ningning immediately knew how to start writing the report on Black that had been piling up previously. But when Tian Ningning saw Black's last message with an apologetic tone, the bitterness in Tian Ningning's heart that had dissipated suddenly turned into salty tears. A young man had just resisted the Sea of Demons in the controlled Class 3 Abyss Dimensional Rift. Once again, he was blessed with radiance. But such a young hero had actually thought of her, a reporter, after resisting the Sea of Demons. She was just an insignificant person to that silver-masked youth. Tian Ningning felt a sense of respect. Sometimes, an apology might be light, but it was filled with sincerity. She carefully read Black's last message for a long time. Tian Ningning's face, which was still wet with salty tears, suddenly had a big smile that came from the bottom of her heart. Tian Ningning looked at the chat box with Black in front of her, and the smile on her face became brighter. Tian Ningning, thanks for your hard work, little hero. Good luck. Then, Tian Ningning added a cute emoji at the end. After that, Tian Ningning logged off the Star Web. She was no longer in a daze as she had been before. Now, she had become an energetic young lady. Tian Ningning immediately contacted Long Tao, Shi Su, Zhao Xiaochun, and Fong Duoduo's exclusive reporters. For a major event like this where a few important figures were interspersed, the exclusive reporters would cooperate to report. Long Tao, Shi Su, Zhao Xiaochun, and Fong Duoduo were all Radiant's 100 sequence members, and their exclusive reporters would not accept normal cooperation reports. However, when Black obtained the Star Web's exclusive achievement in the qualifications to participate in the Radiant's 100 sequence competition, Black's eyes lit up. As Black's exclusive reporter, Tian Ningning was already qualified to find the exclusive reporters of the Radiance 100 sequence members to report together. When Lin Yuan saw Tian Ningning's reply, he let out a sigh of relief. Lin Yuan was also giving his exclusive reporter, Tian Ningning, an explanation. The establishment of every relationship, even if it was an exclusive reporter who had nothing to do with life, was actually a kind of restraint. Apart from the spiritual gains, Lin Yuan was also in the room of this guest house. He planned to check the actual gains he had obtained from exploring this controlled class 3-dimensional rift for over a month. Lin Yuan first summoned Red Thorn. After Lin Yuan summoned Red Thorn, it did not interact with Lin Yuan intimately like it usually did. Instead, it pestered Lin Yuan. This was because Red Thorn had entered a state of hibernation. However, Red Thorn's hibernation state would not last for long, which was about a week. Previously, in the controlled Class 3 Abyss Dimensional Rift, half of the massive Demon Sea had been devoured by Red Thorn's ramets. The large amount of flesh and energy from the Demon Sea that had just died was truly difficult for Red Thorn to digest. Second update request for votes, end of this chapter. Chapter 287. Finally, when the Demon Sea was completely wiped out, Red Thorn had no choice but to give up a portion of the Class 4 demon flesh that it was unable to digest. These Class 4 demon flesh, which was equivalent to a Platinum Fey, contained withering and burning characteristics. Even if Red Thorn's Ortet devoured them, it would not be able to withstand it. At that time, Red Thorn had only used the ramets as a container to store the Class 4 demon flesh to prevent it from being devoured by the Class 3 demon, which would then become a threat on the battlefield. Red Thorn used the ramets to offer the flesh energy that it could absorb to itself. A large number of ramets instantly withered, and the massive flesh energy was transferred to the Ortet's body through its roots. Such a massive amount of flesh energy made Red Thorn enter a dormant state. At that moment, Lin Yuan could feel the mouth of Relinquish emitting a rumbling sound that sounded like a furnace's operation. Moreover, the 12 digestive cavities around the mouth of Relinquish that were blooming with beautiful rose-shaped red flowers were also mobilizing the stored digestive juices. The strong acidic digestive juices flowed into the mouth of Relinquish, allowing the mouth of Relinquish's digestive ability to reach the maximum. Even though Lin Yuan was a distance away from the mouth of Relinquish, he could feel the mouth of Relinquish constantly emitting a massive amount of flesh energy. Red Thorn was rapidly digesting the massive flesh energy in its body and transforming it into its own strength. Lin Yuan believed that after this week of hibernation, Red Thorn would be able to reach Bronze X afterward. As long as Red Thorn's quality evolved from epic to legend, Lin Yuan would be able to evolve it into a fantasy breed. Once Red Thorn became a fantasy breed, Lin Yuan's combat ability would be greatly enhanced. However, Lin Yuan had yet to decide which of the 2 willpower runes in his spiritual spatial zone should he fuse with Red Thorn. These 2 willpower runes were extremely suitable for Red Thorn. When a willpower rune fused with a Fey and became a fantasy breed, it would allow the Fey to undergo a brand new metamorphosis. Therefore, different willpower runes would allow the Fey's future path to undergo a world of difference. Therefore, such matters could not be careless. However, it was still a little early for Lin Yuan to think about this problem. This was because it wasn't easy for Red Thorn to advance from Bronze/Epic to Legend. Since Red Thorn could only rely on devouring the flesh and blood energy contained within flesh and blood to increase its rank and quality, Red Thorn could only rely on devouring the flesh and blood energy contained within flesh and blood. Therefore, Red Thorn's current path was almost the same as other spirit chi professionals' way of enhancing Fays. Through nurturing Red Thorn, Lin Yuan also understood how difficult it was for other spirit chi professionals to nurture Fays and improve their quality. Lin Yuan could not help but sigh when he sensed Red Thorn's current state. Right now, Red Thorn's body had yet to digest the massive amount of flesh and blood energy. Clearly, it was still unable to promote Red Thorn from epic to legendary. He could sense that there was a thick barrier between Red Thorn's epic and legend quality. If he wanted to rely on Red Thorn's flesh energy that had yet to be completely consumed, it would be completely insufficient to break through that barrier. It seemed like if Red Thorn wanted to evolve from epic to legend at Bronze X, Lin Yuan would have to think of another way. The upgrade of Red Thorn's quality should be the biggest problem in nurturing his phase. However, Lin Yuan was not willing to waste a part of his phase potential like other spirit chi professionals and evolve Red Thorn to silver before finding a way to break through from epic to legend. In Lin Yuan's opinion, since it was something he could do, he had to do his best no matter how difficult it was. When Red Thorn had entered its dormant state, the Gold Eye/Legend Acid Corrosion Queen Bee had been expelled from the mouth of Relinquish by Red Thorn. Therefore, the Acid Corrosion Queen Bee could only live next to Red Thorn in the digestive cavity with the huge red rose-shaped flower. The Acid Corrosion Queen Bee pitifully crawled out of Red Thorn's huge, bewitching rose-shaped flower's digestive cavity and landed on Lin Yuan's palm. Lin Yuan looked at the Acid Corrosion Queen Bee's carefully fawning expression and found that it was actually the same as when the Acid Corrosion Queen Bee was fawning on Red Thorn. However, this fawning seemed to have some purpose. The Acid Corrosion Queen Bee had been Red Thorn's bootlicker during this period. However, Red Thorn had always been indifferent to the Acid Corrosion Queen Bee. Red Thorn had always been very dependent on Lin Yuan and treated him as its everything. Therefore, after the Acid Corrosion Queen Bee understood this, it immediately used the circuitous tactic of a bootlicker and repeatedly licked. By fawning on Lin Yuan, it made Red Thorn have a good impression of it. This was a bit like a person chasing his goddess, but his goddess ignored him, so he found ways to please the goddess's parents and then get the goddess's favor. At that moment, the sleeping Red Thorn seemed to sense something. It wrapped the smooth vine without any thorns around Lin Yuan's wrist. Then, the vine shook and pulled the Acid Corrosion Queen Bee out of Lin Yuan's palm. The Acid Corrosion Queen Bee, the bootlicker, had never expected that the goddess it wanted to please was actually a daddy complex. Lin Yuan stored the Acid Corrosion Queen Bee and the sleeping Red Thorn into the leaf-shaped diamond face storage box on his chest. Then, he entered the Spirit Lock spatial zone and prepared to check on the Heaven and Earth phase, the Phoenix perching Chinese parasol tree and the twin red pagoda, that he had accidentally obtained during this training. After Lin Yuan entered the Spirit Lock spatial zone, he looked at the scene inside. He felt that his Spirit Lock spatial zone's 80 square meter area was really too small. Especially after Lin Yuan had fully used the area inside the Spirit Lock spatial zone, the Spirit Lock spatial zone seemed abnormally crowded. Lin Yuan had a lot of things to do in the Spirit Lock spatial zone this time. After more than a month, the rare wood that Lin Yuan had placed on the two huge parasol wood shelves had completely become jade-textured. Therefore, Lin Yuan wanted to replace these completely jade-textured rare wood with a new batch. These completely jade-textured rare wood were all of the precious quality that Lin Yuan had carefully selected at that time. Under the extremely strong spirit chi in the Spirit Lock spatial zone, these completely jade-textured rare wood flowed with various colored halos, which was very beautiful. Lin Yuan looked at these 5 kinds of completely jade-textured rare wood, be it scented rosewood, chicken wing wood, ebony, green elm, or gold-threaded nanmu. Any one of these 5 kinds of completely jade-textured rare wood would cause those affluent families to frantically fight for it on the market. Moreover, Lin Yuan's completely jade-textured wood was still very large and very regular. Lin Yuan's completely jade-textured wood was the most suitable to be used as a relief sculpture, furniture, or sculpture. If everyone has time to chat in the comments section, you can clock in every day. End of this chapter. Chapter 288. Lin Yuan did not appreciate these 5 types of completely jade-textured precious woods. He directly stored these 5 types of completely jade-textured precious wood into the amber button-shaped diamond face storage box that he used as cufflinks. These completely jade-textured precious woods were the foundation for Lin Yuan to build his faction. He was going to rely on these foundations to exchange for a large number of resources to accumulate for the sky city he would build on the fantasy breed floating island whale's back. He placed a new batch of rare wood on the 2 huge jade-textured platyphyllum wood shelves. In another month or so, there would be a large batch of new completely jade-textured precious woods that would mature. However, what surprised Lin Yuan the most were these two completely jade-textured parasol wood shelves carved with phoenix totems. The two wutong wood shelves carved with phoenix totems had turned into a magnificent red color at this time. However, this red was not as transparent as a red crystal. Instead, it was the color of a red jade with a lustrous white background. The phoenix feathers carved on the shelves were flowing with a halo under the rich and pure spirit qi in the spirit lock spatial zone, making the huge parasol wood shelves look very exquisite. After Lin Yuan placed this new batch of precious woods, he checked the 100 silk brocade pearls that he had placed in the spirit lock spatial zone. These 100 silk brocade pearls had all transformed into flower brocade pearls through the pure spirit qi in the spirit lock spatial zone in the past month or so. The silk brocade pearls looked like succulent plants composed of emerald green pearl-like leaves. They had a jelly-like texture to the touch. However, if there was a wound on the hand and accidentally touched the dew secreted by the silk brocade pearls, one would probably have to endure the pain of a blunt knife cutting the flesh. The small green beads on the silk brocade pearls had completely turned into a light pink. The flower brocade pearls looked no different from the silk brocade pearls, but the color of the round granular leaves had changed wonderfully. The original green leaves of the silk brocade pearls looked very plain. Now that the silk brocade pearls had transformed into flower brocade pearls, the different shades of pink on the leaves actually looked like a small fleshy lotus flower. The true value of these flower brocade pearls did not lie in how beautiful they looked. It was because every flower brocade pearl in the hands of a creation master would increase the success rate of concocting the spirit fluid. Lin Yuan planned to hang this batch of mature flower brocade pearls in his purchase with no loss store for the next few days. He stored the 100 flower brocade pearls into the amber button-shaped diamond face storage box. Then, he replaced it with 100 new Jinshang beads and placed them in their original positions. Next, he allowed these 100 brocade pearls to continue to mutate into flower brocade pearls. After that, he checked the floating island whale's current state. The two aquamarine elemental shellfish and celestine elemental shellfish absorbed the massive and pure spirit qi in the spirit lock spatial zone and constantly spat out elemental pearls that contained pure water elements and air elements. Every time these elemental pearls gathered to a certain extent at the side of the crystal eggshell or the floating island whale was being nurtured, the elemental pearls would gather to a certain degree. The crystal eggshell that nurtured the floating island whale would absorb the pure spirit qi in the spirit lock spatial zone, as well as the elemental pearls that contained pure water and air elements. Lin Yuan placed his palm on the crystal eggshell that nurtured the floating island whale. The lonely soul in the crystal eggshell that nurtured the floating island whale instantly sensed Lin Yuan's arrival and immediately came over. Lin Yuan only felt that his palms seemed to be firmly attached to a hand through the crystal eggshell. Feeling the floating island whale's attachment to him, Lin Yuan revealed a warm smile on his face. Then, like before, Lin Yuan cut a hole in his palm and placed his palm on the crystal eggshell that nurtured the floating island whale. He used blood to strengthen the connection with the floating island whale. This was a necessary process when nurturing the island whale. Phase like the floating island whale could only deepen the bloodline connection again and again. When the floating island whale hatched, it would form a contract with the spirit qi professional that was connected to it by bloodline. Lin Yuan looked at the two aquamarine elemental shellfish and celestine elemental shellfish and pondered slightly. After feeling the floating island whale's state of devouring spirit qi, Lin Yuan found that the two aquamarine elemental shellfish and celestine elemental shellfish could fully support the frequency at which the floating island whale absorbed the spirit qi in the spirit lock spatial zone. If one more aquamarine elemental shellfish and celestine elemental shellfish were added, elemental pearls would probably overflow. Even if the floating island whale could absorb spiritual power like a whale, the efficiency of this absorption was limited after all. The huge amount of pure energy in the spirit lock spatial zone allowed the aquamarine elemental shellfish and celestine elemental shellfish to unleash their biological source abilities to the fullest. These were the water elemental pearls and the air elemental pearls that contained pure elemental energy that were hard to find outside. In Lin Yuan's spirit lock spatial zone, the aquamarine elemental shellfish and celestine elemental shellfish quickly spat them out like an assembly line. Then, Lin Yuan used his hand to grab the lifeform sacrificial fire that was like a burning emerald in midair. After this lifeform sacrificial fire was fully matured, it would not grow again. If the Red Pagoda was a heaven and earth fae, when the Red Pagoda gave birth to the lifeform sacrificial fire, it had already withered. The lifeform sacrificial fire was just a kind of spiritual ingredient that was produced by the Red Pagoda. Lin Yuan carefully stored this lifeform sacrificial fire in a brocade box carved from jade. Then, he placed this brocade box carved from jade in the spirit lock spatial zone on the table that he usually used to nurture fays. In Lin Yuan's spirit lock spatial zone, there were a total of 2 items on the table that he used to nurture fays. The first item was the crab stone that the bronze sheer pincers crab had given to Lin Yuan after it had been healed when he had participated in the Creation Master exam. This crab stone was a very ordinary spiritual ingredient that could be bought for less than 1 radiance dollar. However, this crab stone was the first gift of gratitude that Lin Yuan had received from a fae after becoming a Creation Master. Lin Yuan would never forget the shock that the sheer pincers crab had stupidly spat out bubbles and cut off the crab stone that it usually protected with its life to give to him. It was this crab stone that had allowed Lin Yuan to treat fays with a heart that cherished life on the path of becoming a Creation Master. The other item on the table was a very ordinary ice mist grass. This very ordinary ice mist grass had been placed on the table in the spirit lock spatial zone by Lin Yuan over a month ago. When looking at this ice mist grass, Lin Yuan felt as though he had seen through a month's time and saw the pure eyes of that girl called Little Zao. It was this ice mist grass that Lin Yuan would forever remember. He had to do his best to cherish the grateful heart of others. He had to do his best to cherish the grateful heart of others. End of this chapter. Chapter 289. But now, there was a third item on the table. The third item was the lifeform sacrificial fire that Lin Yuan had just placed on the table. To him, this lifeform sacrificial fire was equivalent to a redemption for a plant phase life. This was because the lifeform sacrificial fire itself was equivalent to a plant-type phase second life. As for the main flower of the twin red pagoda, which was burning with a scarlet flame and wrapped around a ball of immature lifeform sacrificial fire, he did not intend to care about it and just placed it in a corner of the spirit lock spatial zone. The twin red pagoda's main flower had completely recovered from the massive and pure spirit chi in the spirit lock spatial zone. However, if he wanted to nurture the twin red pagoda's main flower and nurture another lifeform sacrificial fire, he would need a massive amount of fire elements. He could not get that huge amount of pure fire elemental energy for the twin red pagoda's main flower now. However, when faced with this massive amount of pure fire elemental energy, Lin Yuan suddenly had an idea and thought of the elemental shellfish. If he had another elemental shellfish, he could induce the elemental shellfish to mutate and evolve it into a scorching elemental shellfish. The scorching elemental shellfish was similar to the celestine elemental shellfish and the aquamarine elemental shellfish. However, the elemental pearls spat out by the scorching elemental shellfish contained fire elements. The scorching elemental shellfish was absorbing large amounts of pure spirit chi in the spirit lock spatial zone. The elemental pearls that it spat out that contained pure fire elements could be supplied to the twin red pagoda's main flower to nurture the lifeform sacrificial fire. However, the elemental shellfish were simply too rare. Previously, when he had been enhancing the 3 spirit spring lilies, one of them had mutated into a yellow spring lily. Moreover, Gao Feng happened to want this bronze/epic yellow spring lily very much. He might not necessarily be able to exchange a bronze/epic yellow spring lily for 4 young elemental shellfish. Therefore, if Lin Yuan wanted to obtain a rare treasure like the elemental shellfish again, he would really need a suitable opportunity. His most important harvest this time was the Dark Federation's spatial equipment, the golden metal disc, and the heaven and earth fae, the phoenix perching Chinese parasol tree. Lin Yuan first summoned the phoenix perching Chinese parasol tree from the golden metal disc. He then filled the golden metal disc with mid-grade energy ores and placed it at the bottom of the spirit pool. When he saw the golden disc at the bottom of the spirit pool, he felt relaxed. This way, he would no longer need to come to the Spirit Lock spatial zone every few days and work hard for a few hours to continuously gather energy ores. This golden metal disc was equivalent to a platinum phase storage box filled with energy ores. It was enough for the Spirit Lock spatial zone to consume for close to a month. However, Lin Yuan's first tool in the Spirit Lock spatial zone, the Wind Speed Rapid Antelope, would be useless. He looked at the Wind Speed Rapid Antelope that was running around happily in the Spirit Lock spatial zone, continuously touching the cinnabar sweet osmanthus and the huge frame carved from parasol wood. Lin Yuan narrowed his eyes and suddenly had a dangerous thought. The Wind Speed Rapid Antelope seemed to have sensed something and ran over to Lin Yuan. It used its little head to rub against Lin Yuan's hand in a very flattering manner. He rubbed the Wind Speed Rapid Antelope's little head and sighed. In any case, he was already used to raising the Wind Speed Swift Spirit, so he might as well raise it first. This Wind Speed Rapid Antelope did not disappoint him. Now, the Wind Speed Rapid Antelope's quality had risen from excellent to perfect. Among Lin Yuan's phase, this Wind Speed Rapid Antelope's quality was the lowest. However, it was not bad for the Wind Speed Rapid Antelope to be a small butler in this Spirit Lock spatial zone and bring a touch of life to it. Lin Yuan looked at the summoned phoenix perching Chinese parasol tree. The golden leaves of the summoned phoenix perching Chinese parasol tree seemed to emit a brilliant golden light. The golden light all over the tree flowed in the bird's nest made of branches and leaves. It was as if the bird's nest was pregnant with an indescribable beauty. Lin Yuan picked up the phoenix perching Chinese parasol tree and planted it on the pure land of bliss in the Spirit Lock spatial zone. The previous owner of the phoenix perching Chinese parasol tree had tried his best to let the phoenix perching Chinese parasol tree extract the energy of the twin red pagoda's main flower. In fact, it was mainly to let the phoenix perching Chinese parasol tree extract the huge amount of pure spirit qi contained in the twin red pagoda's main flower. The phoenix perching Chinese parasol tree was a kind of heaven and earth fae with extremely high requirements for the purity and content of spiritual power. There was no place more suitable for the phoenix perching Chinese parasol tree to grow than the pure land of bliss in the Spirit Lock spatial zone. The phoenix perching Chinese parasol tree was also a big consumer of spiritual power in Lin Yuan's Spirit Lock spatial zone. However, with the golden metal disc, Lin Yuan did not have to worry about the consumption of energy ores at all. As for the phoenix perching Chinese parasol tree, it needed to consume strange flames to grow. This made Lin Yuan understand that in the future, he might as well use the flower brocade pearls to exchange for those strange flames produced in the abyss dimensional rifts in his purchase with no loss store. The price of any strange flame was very expensive. However, it was not impossible to buy some low-grade strange flames in the market. Some of the better strange flames, such as the mid-grade strange flames produced in the Class 2 abyss dimensional rifts, were kept by some lifestyle class spirit chi professionals like treasures and were difficult to circulate in the market. However, Lin Yuan believed that with the flower brocade pearls that could make creation masters crazy, everything would not be a problem. These creation masters who wanted to exchange for the flower brocade pearls would definitely find ways to get the strange flames from the lifestyle class spirit chi professionals who had asked for his help. They would use them to exchange for the flower brocade pearls in his purchase with no loss store. As for strange flames like the life-form sacrificial fire, as long as Lin Yuan was not stupid, he would definitely not use it to feed the phoenix perching Chinese parasol tree. Even if the life-form sacrificial fire was of great benefit to the phoenix perching Chinese parasol tree, it could not be replaced by a large number of other strange flames. Lin Yuan turned his head and found that Chimey was lying on the platinum celery vine. It had fallen asleep and was pecking at its leaves. It turned out that Chimey, this little sloth, had fallen asleep during the meal. Lin Yuan was a little confused. He had not summoned Chimey to help him when he was fighting in the Class 3 Abyss Dimensional Rift. Why was Chimey so tired during this period? Lin Yuan carefully picked up Chimey, which had fallen asleep on the celery vine's leaves. He placed it in the bird's nest formed by the phoenix perching Chinese parasol tree's branches and leaves. Chimey, who was in a daze, immediately chirped a few times in comfort. The halo flowing on the phoenix perching Chinese parasol tree's golden leaves slowly gathered toward the bird's nest formed by the branches and leaves. Finally, these golden halos landed on Chimy's body as though they were fused into it. It made Chimy look particularly exquisite and elegant. Lin Yuan really could not understand why Chimy was so tired. Seeing that there was nothing else to pack in the spirit lock spatial zone, Lin Yuan simply left. Just after Lin Yuan left the spirit lock spatial zone, Chimy chirped as though it was sitting in a dream. In the dream, Chimy discovered that it had become a human and held a solo concert surrounded by all of Star Web's fans. However, just as it was singing, Chimy suddenly dreamed that Lin Yuan had gone on stage and presented it with a bouquet of flowers. Chimy was suddenly like a child who had been caught by his parents secretly playing with his phone while doing homework and was woken up in shock. After waking up in shock, Chimy suddenly found itself sleeping in a warm and soft golden tree nest. Chimy immediately jumped around on the golden tree nest in surprise and thought to itself, Lin Yuan bought me a new nest. Lin Yuan bought me a new nest. Lin Yuan treats me so well. With that thought in mind, Chimy fell into deep thought. Would Lin Yuan be angry if I told him the truth? It's all Genius' fault for telling me something about a surprise gift box on StarWeb. I put all the money I earned from my live streaming room into the surprise gift box and gave it to Lin Yuan's StarWeb store. After that year, will Lin Yuan blame me if he finds out after receiving the surprise gift box? Second chapter, end of this chapter. Chapter 290. Not only did puberty boys and girls have worries, but even puberty birds were the same. With worries, they were melancholy and happy. The thoughts of puberty birds were like the silver candle painted on the cold autumn wind, the light and small fan flutters the fireflies. The light and small fan had the intention, but the fireflies were indeed a fleeting moment in February, and the wind was against it. Lin Yuan sorted out the material production and the harvest from the training in the Spirit Lock spatial zone for this month. He knew what he had to do next. At that moment, Lin Yuan heard a knock on the door. Lin Yuan was a little curious. Who would knock on his door at this time? After Lin Yuan opened the door, he found the mother of Bloodbath in its human form standing at the door. At that moment, the mother of Bloodbath's hair color had turned black, and the red crystal-like leather armor on its body was covered with a layer of crimson robe. As a suzerain/myth 2 fae, the mother of Bloodbath's human form completely retained the style of its main body. The ability to change hair color was just a piece of cake for a suzerain/myth 2 fae. However, the mother of Bloodbath's eyes were still the same as before, still like red crystals. However, the mother of Bloodbath's current appearance was still a little strange except for its eyes. The rest looked roughly no different from an ordinary human spirit chi professional. After the mother of Bloodbath saw Lin Yuan, a trace of a smile appeared on its cold face, and it handed over a craft paper bag. Lin Yuan opened the craft paper bag and saw 2 peeled roasted sweet potatoes with syrup flowing out of the surface from the roasting. At that moment, Lin Yuan heard the mother of Bloodbath say, I also booked a room next to yours. I also booked a room next to yours. It's snowing outside, and I went out for a walk just now. I found that the roasted sweet potatoes are quite delicious. Lin Yuan held the hot roasted sweet potatoes in the craft paper bag. He could not help but recall that Chu Ci clearly loved to eat roasted sweet potatoes when she was young, but every time he bought them for her, she pretended not to like them and insisted that he take a bite first. After the mother of Bloodbath delivered the roasted sweet potatoes to Lin Yuan, it was ready to leave. Eat them while they're hot. They won't taste good when they're cold. In order to increase its credibility, the mother of Bloodbath added solemnly. I tried them just now. They're not delicious when they're cold. Lin Yuan had always felt that the mother of Bloodbath was cold and unkind. However, now that the mother of Bloodbath had transformed into a human, it wanted to go out for a walk when it saw that it was snowing. It even curiously tasted the roasted sweet potatoes. It was clear that the mother of Bloodbath truly loved this world and life in its heart. After saying that, the mother of Bloodbath was about to help Lin Yuan close the door when it heard him speak. Mother of Bloodbath, what do you like to eat? I'll take you to eat some human delicacies tonight. The mother of Bloodbath's eyebrows were tinged with a hint of joy. I love to eat all birds. Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan nearly choked on his saliva and coughed. He had almost forgotten that the mother of Bloodbath did not know much about human delicacies. The mother of Bloodbath's body was a kind of tarantula that usually loved to prey on bird-type fays. Lin Yuan pondered for a moment before replying. Then let's go eat chicken stewed with mushrooms, stewed goose in an iron pot, and buy some fried chicken tonight. The mother of Bloodbath's excitement intensified. After closing the door, the mother of Bloodbath was about to return to its room, but its ears twitched, and the excitement on its eyebrows instantly disappeared. As a suzerain/myth 2 fae, the mother of Bloodbath's hearing was naturally extraordinary. The mother of Bloodbath only heard "Old man, give air an eye," or a call later and tell her to be reserved. She can't take the initiative to knock on a boy's door. Got it, old woman. Do you have anything else to say to air and I, Of course, tell air and I, that girls shouldn't always give themselves nicknames. Li air and I sounds better than Li Duomi. However, air and I, doesn't have to worry. At the very least, she didn't give herself a nickname like the mother of Bloodbath. Young people nowadays. How gaudy. The mother of Bloodbath could not take it anymore and slammed its door. However, what the mother of Bloodbath heard next made it feel like it was about to split apart. That's right, old man, tell air and I, to be more ladylike in the future. Don't be so rude. Boys treat you to a meal and you're happy as if you've won 5 million. The mother of Bloodbath suddenly felt that the human brain circuit was somewhat abnormal. Shouldn't one be happy when hearing chicken stewed with mushrooms, stewed goose in an iron pot, and fried chicken drumsticks? What kind of weird things are humans thinking about in their brains? Lin Yuan ate the roasted sweet potato in his hand. As he ate, he took out his cell phone and dialed Chu Ci's number. When the call connected, Lin Yuan heard that Chu Ci's environment was very noisy. However, after listening carefully, Chu Ci should be in combat class at this time. Lin Yuan, I've called you several times this month, but you never had a signal. Chu Ci was very happy when she received Lin Yuan's call, but there was a little complaint in her tone. This small complaint included her concern for Lin Yuan as his younger sister for the past month. Chu Ci, I went to the dimensional rift to train this month. There's no signal in the dimensional rift. I heard from Auntie Cold Moon. Auntie Cold Moon? That's right. Auntie Cold Moon is very good to me. I'll be participating in the Redbud Hundreds test as a seeded contestant in a few months. Auntie Cold Moon said that she'll take me out for a few months to increase my strength during the new year. When Lin Yuan heard that it was Cold Moon who would take Chu Ci to train, he was naturally very relieved. However, when he thought that Chu Ci would be going out to train during the new year and would not be spending the new year with him, Lin Yuan was slightly absent-minded. In the past dozen years, it seemed that this year was the first time that he did not spend the new year with Chu Ci. Chu Ci's age was the best time to increase her strength. As Chu Ci's biological brother, Lin Yuan naturally hoped that she would become stronger. Although Lin Yuan was confident that he could be Chu Ci's safe haven, the stability of the safe haven and Chu Ci's progress did not conflict. Brother, I can't spend the new year with you this year, but we'll all drink the fat head fish head soup during the new year. Lin Yuan's heart warmed when he heard that. The dishes on the table would always change every new year, but the one thing that did not change every year was a bowl of fathead fish head soup. Lin Yuan hung up the phone and suddenly had a feeling that his younger sister had grown up and was no longer relying on him. However, as an older brother, he was like an old father. The more the younger sister wanted to go out, the more the older brother had to plan for her. At that moment, Lin Yuan's Iron Bucket Younger Sister Nurturing Plan had automatically updated to Iron Bucket Younger Sister Nurturing Plan. Today's third update asking for votes, end of this chapter. Chapter 291. Lin Yuan stood by the window of his room in the guest house and looked at the scattered snowflakes outside. The royal capital did not see much snow in a year. Lin Yuan had been training in the controlled Class 3 Abyss Dimensional Rift, so he was not sure if this was the first snow in the royal capital this year. However, as a child who had grown up in Redbud City's Xia region, it had been a lifetime since Lin Yuan last saw snow. Lin Yuan opened the window and stretched out his hand. Chu Shui was not cold, so he only felt a trace of coolness in his palm before it immediately disappeared. After the phone call with Chu Ci, Lin Yuan felt that his previous arrangements were not thoughtful enough. It was impossible for Lin Yuan not to feel a trace of disappointment that Chu Ci could not celebrate the new year with him this year. However, Lin Yuan recalled that he had been talking to his master, the Moon Empress, about his training plan. He did not expect that as a junior, he would have to have a reunion dinner with his master. There was only about a month left before the new year. Lin Yuan felt that his gains from this Abyss Dimensional Rift training were already worth the trip. Therefore, Lin Yuan planned to return to the royal capital before the new year began and go to the Radiant Moon Palace to celebrate the new year with his master. For the past few days, Lin Yuan had been resting in this guest house. At the same time, he had also hung the flower brocade pearls that he had nurtured in the Spirit Lock spatial zone in his purchase with no loss store. Lin Yuan hung the flower brocade pearls, which were enough to make creation masters go crazy, in his purchase with no loss store and did not immediately start selling them. Instead, he only hung 10 pots in the store for display. Lin Yuan understood that if he wanted to use these 10 pots of flower brocade pearls to obtain greater benefits, first, he had to attract the attention of more creation masters. Lin Yuan had also put in a lot of effort to trade for these 10 flower brocade pearls. Lin Yuan chose to trade for all 10 flower brocade pearls through bartering. As for the items that Lin Yuan chose to trade for, they were the strange flames produced in the Abyss Dimensional Rift. This time, Lin Yuan did not plan to choose the trading partner himself. Instead, he used the blind bartering method on the star web. Every buyer who wanted to buy the flower brocade pearls could use the strange flames that they had prepared as chips for a secret auction. After a period of time, the 10 buyers who had paid the most strange flames would each obtain a flower brocade pearl. This type of blind trade was the most torturous of all the trading methods, because no one knew how much their final opponent would have to pay. Therefore, if he wanted it, he could only desperately raise the price. Even if he managed to obtain the flower brocade pearl, he might suffer a loss because the price was too high. There was not only one flower brocade pearls for the blind trade this time, but there were a total of 10. This meant that the top 10 bidders would be able to obtain a flower brocade pearl no matter how much they bid. Lin Yuan's purchase with no loss store had used the flower brocade pearls for blind trade through Star Web's official channels. This meant that the blind trade of the 10 flower brocade pearls was absolutely fair. When he decided to use this method of exchange, he already knew that the 10 flower brocade pearls displayed in his Star Web store would definitely be able to exchange for a lot of strange flames. One had to know that the flower brocade pearls rarely appeared in the market. The flower brocade pearls' target audience was creation masters, and creation masters were the small group of people with the most wealth and resources in the world. Of course, Lin Yuan had also thought of using the flower brocade pearls to exchange for the elemental shellfish. However, it was obvious that the flower brocade pearls' price could not be compared to the elemental shellfish. Therefore, Lin Yuan could only dispel the idea of using the flower brocade pearls to exchange for the elemental shellfish. If he were to announce such an exchange, even if his Star Web store was able to produce a large number of flower brocade pearls, his store would probably instantly become a joke of, "A man who is never content is like a snake trying to swallow an elephant." According to the price of around 20 flower brocade pearls was equivalent to that of one elemental shellfish. However, the exchange between fays had always been limited to the exchange between fays of the same quantity and value. It was just like how no matter how much glass a person had that was of the same value as jade, no one would be willing to use a piece of high-quality jade to exchange for a pile of broken glass. Therefore, Lin Yuan could only think of another way to exchange for the elemental shellfish. The flower brocade pearls had been on display in Lin Yuan's purchase with no loss store for the past few days. They had attracted the attention of a large number of creation masters, including Class 4 creation masters. The flower brocade pearls might be rare, but once a Class 4 creation master reached the level of a creation master, it would not be difficult to obtain a single flower brocade pearl. However, for a precious resource like the flower brocade pearls, even Class 4 creation masters who possessed the flower brocade pearls would want to store some more. The flower brocade pearls were useful to creation masters because of the dew secreted by the flower brocade pearls leaves. However, the dew secreted by the flower brocade pearls leaves was ultimately limited. If they could have a few more flower brocade pearls, then when concocting the spirit fluid, Class 4 creation masters would not have to think about how to economize on the distribution of the dew secreted by the flower brocade pearls. Lin Yuan placed the 10 flower brocade pearls in the purchase with no loss store on the table. A storm that was almost comparable to a small rare life-form pavilion's auction blew up on the star web. Since Lin Yuan had not upgraded his purchase with no loss store, it was still a Class 1 store. However, the area of this Class 1 store was enough for Lin Yuan. This was because Lin Yuan had always taken the boutique route and not the general merchandise route. Although Lin Yuan's purchase with no loss store had only been open for a few months, its reputation and points were enough to upgrade to a Class 3 store. It was only one step away from becoming a Class 4 store. If Lin Yuan had not been restricting the supply of elite spirit siphon goldfish and silver usnias, the purchase with no loss store would have been upgraded to a Class 4 store. Lin Yuan had only been operating the store for a few months, and he had not put much effort into it. Needless to say, its reputation was naturally good, and even its points were almost catching up to Zhou Jieson's store that she had been running for nearly a decade. After Lin Yuan's Class 1 store announced that source-type items and day and night spirit silver could be used to exchange for any kind of bronze/epic fey, its reputation had already exploded. Coupled with the display of the 10 flower brocade pearls, although it was still a Class 1 store, Lin Yuan's Star Web store had suddenly become a boutique store that received much attention on Star Web. Lin Yuan could not help but sigh. If it were in my previous life, my Star Web store should be called an internet celebrity store. Today's first update, end of this chapter. Chapter 292. Over the past few days, Lin Yuan had almost swept through all the non-auction items in the Star Web's rare lifeform pavilion and had only bought 2 of the lowest-grade strange flames. The strange flames were divided into low-grade, mid-grade, and high-grade according to the abyss dimensional rift that was produced. As for the strange flames produced in Class 4 abyss dimensional rifts, they were already considered superior-grade strange flames. Lin Yuan had never heard of superior-grade strange flames appearing in the market. After all, there were already Class 6 demons in the Class 4 abyss dimensional rifts. Only King Class and above Emperor Class experts were qualified to obtain such strange flames that could only be produced in Class 4 abyss dimensional rifts. If the position of King Class experts required an A-rank spirit chi professional and a fantasy breed fey. For Emperor Class experts, they had to be an S-rank spirit chi professional and possess a myth breed fey. As for the life-form sacrificial fire that Lin Yuan had obtained, it might have been obtained in a Class 3 dimensional rift. However, the effect of the life-form sacrificial fire was too powerful and could directly give a plant-type fey a second life. Such an effect allowed the life-form sacrificial fire to jump out of the category of strange flames. It was ranked 7th among the fire-type spiritual ingredients in the world. The 2 low-grade strange flames that Lin Yuan had bought on the Star Web were the brown bone flames. The inferior brown bone flame was produced in Class 1 abyss dimensional rifts. As long as a large number of demons died together, the inferior brown bone flame would be able to produce the inferior brown bone flame. As long as a large number of demons died together, they would be nourished by the abyss dimensional rift's fire elements. A large number of demon skeletons might produce the brown bone flames. The reason why the brown bone flames were the most unpopular among the low-grade flames was that the brown bone flames were slightly poisonous. Therefore, many lifestyle class spirit chi professionals couldn't use the brown bone flames to produce them. This was also the reason why Lin Yuan could buy the low-grade strange flames in the Star Web's rare life-form pavilion without an auction. The phoenix perching Chinese parasol tree wasn't picky about the type of strange flames. Therefore, there was nothing wrong with feeding these two low-grade strange flames, the brown bone flames, to the phoenix perching Chinese parasol tree. These two low-grade strange flames, the brown bone flames, had cost Lin Yuan nearly 400,000 radiance dollars each. However, when Lin Yuan fed the two low-grade strange flames, the brown bone flames, to the phoenix perching Chinese parasol tree, Lin Yuan finally knew what kind of fire-eating fae the phoenix perching Chinese parasol tree was. Lin Yuan shook his head slightly. It seemed like he still had a long way to go in search of strange flames. Even so, Lin Yuan was very willing. After obtaining the phoenix perching Chinese parasol tree, Lin Yuan no longer needed to worry about Chime's quality improvement as a fantasy fae. Suddenly, his phone rang. When he saw the caller ID, Lin Yuan felt that his elemental shellfish might have been found. It was none other than Gao Feng who had called Lin Yuan. When Lin Yuan picked up the call, he heard Gao Feng's candid and fawning voice that sounded a little cheap. "Brother, you said last time that you have a lot of completely jade-textured wood. I wonder if you can buy some for me, hee hee." Gao Feng was actually a little embarrassed when he said that. Because if someone was willing to sell something like completely jade-textured wood to you, it was a kind of favor. After all, completely jade-textured wood would be fought over as soon as it appeared on the market. When Lin Yuan heard Gao Feng's words, he knew why Gao Feng had called. Gao Feng still remembered that he had mentioned the completely jade-textured wood when he had traded with him last time. At that time, Lin Yuan had traded with Gao Feng before he had gone to train. That was because the completely jade-textured wood on Lin Yuan's hand was very messy. Although the completely jade-textured wood was messy, there were a lot of types. Although all kinds of wood looked the same before they were jade-textured, their luster and texture were completely different after they were completely jade-textured. However, the messy completely jade-textured wood that Lin Yuan had left behind had all been given to Hu Quan. On the one hand, Hu Quan was anxious to ask for it. On the other hand, Lin Yuan wanted Hu Quan to carve at will and decorate the mansion's interior environment with those small things made of various completely jade-textured spiritual materials. Although the previous residence had been generally decorated, there were still many details that were lacking. Therefore, the completely jade-textured wood on Lin Yuan's hand was only from a few days ago. Lin Yuan had just taken down a large batch of 5 kinds of rare wood that had just become completely jade-textured from the 2 huge parasol wood shelves in the Spirit Lock spatial zone. Although there were fewer types of completely jade-textured wood in Lin Yuan's hand, this batch of completely jade-textured wood was even more precious. At the same time, there was a lot of it. Normal wood would be 5 times heavier after becoming completely jade-textured. To see the degree of a wood's jade-textured degree, only knowledgeable people could carefully distinguish it with their eyes and experience. The simplest way was to compare 2 types of wood of the same volume with ordinary wood and completely jade-textured wood. The more times the weight, the better the effect of completely jade-textured wood. If it could be 5 times heavier, it meant that the wood had already become completely jade-textured. However, this kind of completely jade-textured wood that was 5 times heavier was too rare. Therefore, in the market and large families, wood that was 5 times heavier was called completely jade-textured wood. However, the completely jade-textured wood that could truly weigh 5 times was regarded as the best among the completely jade-textured wood of the same species and was highly sought after. In Lin Yuan's Spirit Lock spatial zone, the originally ordinary precious wood had been nurtured with dense and pure spiritual power for more than a month. All of them had reached 5 times the normal weight. Each piece of rare wood that Lin Yuan had placed on the 2 huge parasol wood shelves weighed 50 caddies. About 10 sheets could be placed on each parasol wood shelf. Therefore, each batch of ordinary rare wood that Lin Yuan placed in the Spirit Lock spatial zone was 1,000 caddies. Every month or so, the jade-textured wood produced in the Spirit Lock spatial zone would reach 5,000 caddies. One had to know that things like completely jade-textured wood were extremely precious. Even if there were transactions, the price would be calculated by grams. I do, but I don't have as many types of completely jade-textured wood as before. When Gao Feng heard that there was, his face was immediately filled with joy. However, when he heard that there weren't that many types, Gao Feng asked carefully. Brother, can you tell me about the type of completely jade-textured wood you have? Do you still have the completely jade-textured red sandalwood that makes your fish tank? Second update, end of this chapter. Chapter 293. Take completely jade-textured wood for example. This kind of luxury that represented the level of wealth was often more symbolic than practical. Therefore, although every type of completely jade-textured wood was very popular in the market, the price difference was huge. Every species of this completely jade-textured wood had its own style. However, the more precious ordinary wood was, the more sought after it was completely jade-textured. Take Gao Feng for example. The best wood he had seen the last time he went to Lin Yuan's mansion was the completely jade-textured red sandalwood and agarwood. However, compared to agarwood, which was a more brittle and completely jade-textured wood, the completely jade-textured red sandalwood was an excellent choice for making small ornaments or furniture. Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan replied, I don't have any completely jade-textured red sandalwood, but the wood I have isn't any worse than completely jade-textured red sandalwood. In order to maximize the integration of the Spirit Lock spatial zone's resources, he had chosen a bit of agarwood that he liked. He only chose the 5 most expensive types of wood on the market, the most sought after by the rich. Gao Feng's interest was immediately piqued. Since Lin Yuan said that these 5 types of completely jade-textured rare woods would not be inferior to red sandalwood, they would definitely not be inferior. However, there were less than 15 types of precious wood that were not inferior to completely jade-textured red sandalwood. Gao Feng couldn't help but become excited. He couldn't help but wonder if there would be the one he wanted the most. When Gao Feng had seen the jade-textured furniture in Lin Yuan's mansion, he had felt as though he had entered a golden cave. Moreover, the completely jade-textured furniture looked ordinary without any carvings. This made Gao Feng understand what low-key luxury was. After Gao Feng returned to the Gao family's old house in Wind Mist City, he saw the furniture and furnishings that were designed by 5-star craftsmen and made completely of jade-textured wood. Gao Feng actually felt that it was a little rustic. Brother, can you tell me what kind of completely jade-textured rare wood you have? Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan answered directly on the other end of the phone. Currently, there are only 5 types of completely jade-textured wood: yellow rosewood, chicken wing wood, ebony, green elm, and gold-threaded nanmu. He went straight to the point and did not keep them guessing about the completely jade-textured wood in his hands. If he wanted to trade these completely jade-textured rare woods, there was no more suitable faction than the Gao family. Only a wealthy family like the Gao family would have an extreme desire for rare jade-textured wood. Moreover, rich and powerful families like the Gao family also had the most good deals. He could use these completely jade-textured rare woods to exchange for the resources he wanted and was in short supply with the Gao family. On the other side of the phone, Gao Feng had already excitedly slapped his thigh. A large part of the reason Gao Feng had come to Lin Yuan to buy these completely jade-textured wood was because he wanted to give his father a gift during the new year. When Gao Feng had gone to Lin Yuan's mansion the last time, he hadn't been able to distinguish whether the completely jade-textured wood was top-notch or not. Although Gao Feng could tell if wood was completely jade-textured, he wasn't proficient in this field. However, after Gao Feng had gone home and measured the piece of completely jade-textured agarwood that Lin Yuan had given him, he found that it was actually 5 times heavier. This was why Gao Feng had slapped his thigh happily when he had heard Lin Yuan's words. It was because the Gao family's old master preferred green elm among all the completely jade-textured wood. Even Gao Feng's grandfather, the Gao family's old master, had not been able to find a few large pieces of completely jade-textured green elm. The price of completely jade-textured wood didn't just depend on the degree of jade texturing. It also depended on the size of the completely jade-textured wood. The larger the wood, the bigger and rarer the items that could be made. The reason why the Gao family's old master had not been able to find a few large pieces of completely jade-textured green elm was not just because it was too rare. The more important reason was that when green elm was jade-textured, the concentration of spirit chi it received was not uniform, and it was easy to break. Gao Feng remembered that the largest piece of completely jade-textured green elm that his old master had received had been carved into a picture of thousands of mountains and hidden peaks. Gao Feng had a deep impression of this picture of thousands of mountains and hidden peaks carved from completely jade-textured green elm. When Gao Feng had not eaten properly when he had been a child and used a spoon to knock on this picture of thousands of mountains and hidden peaks, he had been beaten up by his father. When his old master had seen his father beating him, he had given his father 2 slaps on his neck. However, Gao Feng remembered that when the old master had hugged him and coaxed him to the point where he had stopped crying, he had immediately checked if there were any marks on this picture of thousands of mountains and hidden peaks carved from completely jade-textured green elm. Gao Feng knew that his old master had treated him extremely well and had been pampered since he was young. Therefore, when Gao Feng heard that Lin Yuan had completely jade-textured green elm, Gao Feng wanted to buy this completely jade-textured green elm no matter what. When Lin Yuan heard Gao Feng's excited voice over the phone, the corners of his mouth curled up. The more Gao Feng liked it, the more good things he could exchange for. "Brother, where are you? I'll look for you in person." Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan raised his brows and replied, "You're quite free. You're quite free." Upon hearing Lin Yuan's words, Gao Feng's happy and excited expression turned bitter. "Of course, I'm bored to death. Everyone else has gone to participate in the tournament, but no one wants me. Now, I'm at home watching live streams on Star Web every day. It's so boring." Lin Yuan said, "I'm not at home now. After hanging up the phone, I'll text you the address." After chatting for a while, Lin Yuan hung up the phone. Since Gao Feng wanted to come over, he must have wanted to see the quality of the completely jade-textured wood in his hands. Therefore, Lin Yuan was not in a hurry to say what he wanted to exchange for, as it would not be too late to mention it after Gao Feng came. When he had heard Gao Feng talk about the Guild Alliance's tournament, Lin Yuan's heart had started to move. Before Lin Yuan went to participate in the Radiance 100 sequence competition, the tournament had ended. 3 months after the end of the Guild Alliance's tournament was the time for new guild clubs to apply. Therefore, Lin Yuan should also prepare for his guild club. If he missed these 3 months, he would have to wait until next year to apply for the establishment of a guild club. It was not difficult to apply for a guild club in the Radiance Federation. As long as one had money and a venue, one could apply for it. There were many guild clubs that applied for registration in the Guild Alliance. However, only a very small number of guilds were qualified to participate in the tournament. This was because most of the guild clubs did not even have the chance to pass the elimination round and obtain the qualification to participate. If the guild clubs in the Guild Alliance wanted to obtain the qualification to participate in the tournament, they could only fight for it with the strength of their team. With this thought, Lin Yuan could not help but think about the selection of the members of the main team after his guild club was established. At present, there was only one suitable teammate for Lin Yuan, and that was Lu Jie. Third update asking for votes, end of this chapter. Chapter 294. However, he still had to ask for Lu Jie's opinion on whether he would join the guild club that he had created. He had always treated Lu Jie as a partner and friend, not just a retainer. Therefore, Lin Yuan had to respect Lu Jie's decision and would not criticize his life. However, even if Lu Jie joined Lin Yuan's guild club, he would not be able to do so. So far, Lin Yuan and Lu Jie added up were only 2 people. If a guild club wanted to sign up for the tournament organized by the Radiance Federation's Guild Union Alliance, they would have to sign up. The most basic condition was for the home team to be able to gather 5 members. Otherwise, he wouldn't even have the qualifications to register for the tournament knockout round. Therefore, including Lu Jia, the main team of the guild club that Lin Yuan had set up was still lacking at least 3 members. Moreover, a guild club that planned to participate in the S tournament would not only have one main team, but also a reserve team. These were all problems that Lin Yuan had to face, and he still needed to consider everything at length. Lin Yuan would not choose his teammates based on strength alone. This was because teammates in a team needed to have feelings for each other and become companions who could trust each other in battle. Therefore, Lin Yuan wouldn't be sloppy when it came to choosing teammates. They also wouldn't look for teammates who didn't meet the requirements just to gather 5 members. Wind Mist City was also a big city near the royal capital, so it was not far from the royal capital. Although the Wind Mist City was further away than the Ascending Dragon City, which was the closest city to the royal capital, the Wind Mist City was still far from the royal capital. However, 2 days was enough for Gao Feng to arrive here. As soon as Lin Yuan left the room, he called the Mother of Bloodbath. He wanted to ask the Mother of Bloodbath to go out for a meal. The Mother of Bloodbath had been in human form with Lin Yuan for the past few days. Lin Yuan found that although the Mother of Bloodbath looked cold, it was actually a foodie in essence. Every time he ate delicious food, his ice-cold face would reveal an excited expression. His excited expression was especially obvious when he ate the fried chicken wings. However, after Lin Yuan and the Mother of Bloodbath went to the restaurant and sat in the hall once, Lin Yuan and the Mother of Bloodbath went to the restaurant. If he took the Mother of Bloodbath to a public place to eat, he would definitely book a private room. This was because when the Mother of Bloodbath was eating chicken wings, it was like a human-shaped bone crusher. When he ate the chicken wings, he didn't spit out the bones at all. Instead, he chewed on the bones with a crunching sound. Some chicken species phase had very tough bones. Even if it might not be able to catch up to the hardness of silver rank metals, it was more than enough to catch up to some of the less hard bronze rank metals. It was one thing for the Mother of Bloodbath to eat the chicken wing without spitting out the bones. When it calmly chewed on the bones inside the chicken wing, almost everyone in the hall looked over in surprise. There was even an old woman who came over to ask if the Mother of Bloodbath's teeth were real or fake. If it was a fake tooth, the old lady wanted to make a similar one. The Mother of Bloodbath did not think much of it, but Lin Yuan saw the old woman's bewildered and hopeful eyes. It felt like the Mother of Bloodbath had personally extinguished an old man's ultimate dream. Over the past few days, Lin Yuan had ordered a red crystal cluster diamond phase storage box for the Mother of Bloodbath from Star Web's Ostrich Logistics Group. After asking for the Mother of Bloodbath's opinion, the Mother of Bloodbath chose the diamond phase storage box in the shape of a single-ear stud. Based on the Ostrich Logistics efficiency of customizing diamond phase storage boxes, it would probably take at least 20 days before it could be received. After customizing the red crystal cluster diamond phase storage box for the Mother of Bloodbath, Lin Yuan also configured a phone for it. He had originally wanted to take the Mother of Bloodbath to apply for a Star Web card. However, the Mother of Bloodbath was not interested in the Star Web card, so it was left unsettled. However, the Mother of Bloodbath was very interested in the phone. Moreover, the Mother of Bloodbath's talent with the phone was also very high. In just 1 or 2 days, the Mother of Bloodbath's ability to use the phone to browse some small forums outside of Star Web was much stronger than Lin Yuan. The Mother of Bloodbath had joined many groups related to food. It also wantonly commented on whether chicken wings were better dipped in wasabi honey sauce or sweet and spicy sauce. While waiting for the Mother of Bloodbath, Lin Yuan opened the forum he had been browsing on the phone. After clicking on the forum that he had not been on for a long time, Lin Yuan found that the silly netizen who had said that he had been bitten by the ghost shadow bristled spider had sent him a message again. Lin Yuan looked at the latest one. "What's your favorite fae?" Lin Yuan didn't even think before replying. Ghost shadow bristled spider. When Lin Yuan saw the Mother of Bloodbath come out, he closed the forum. After this meal, Lin Yuan found that he could not take the Mother of Bloodbath to eat chicken for the time being. It was fine that the Mother of Bloodbath did not spit out the bones when eating chicken wings, but it did not even spit out the bones when eating chicken feet. Even in the private room, as long as the mother of bloodbath's bone crusher was turned on, even the spirit food pavilion's waiters would not easily disturb the customers' meals under normal circumstances. In just 10 minutes, he knocked on the door 3 times to make sure that the diners inside were not tearing down the store. In the end, Lin Yuan paid the bill under the strange gazes of the waiters and diners. On the way back, the mother of bloodbath threw 2 things to Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan took a look and found that one should be a source-type item. The other was a small bottle with a drop of black liquid inside. These 2 are for you. I really don't know why there are such strange source-type items in this world. This force that wants to use source-type items to cause trouble is really stingy. Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan was about to use Morbius True Data to check the strange source-type item that the mother of bloodbath had mentioned. At that moment, the mother of bloodbath spoke again. The other bottle contains the blood essence of a pinnacle suzerain/myth 2 avian fae. Its attribute is very pure dark element. After saying that, the mother of bloodbath seemed to have seen some interesting food introduction and lowered its head to swipe its phone again. The mother of bloodbath had really reached the legendary realm of hands never leaving the machine. Lin Yuan scratched his head. Was a cell phone really that addictive? He looked at the pinnacle suzerain/myth 2 phase essence blood in the small bottle. Even through the bottle, Lin Yuan could feel pure darkness energy rising and permeating. Among all of Lin Yuan's spiritual ingredients, this drop of pinnacle suzerain/myth 2 phase essence blood's preciousness was enough to rank second to the lifeform sacrificial fire. This drop of pinnacle suzerain/myth 2 dark element phase essence blood was a spiritual ingredient that could change the fate of dark element phase. Today's 4th update, thanks to the eyes emitting green light, tips. End of this chapter. Chapter 295. It was not easy even for Pinnacle Class 4 Creation Masters to obtain such a Pinnacle Suzerain/Myth 2 phase Essence Blood. Essence Blood and Fresh Blood had different meanings. Fresh blood referred to the blood flowing in the phase body. Essence Blood was the blood essence condensed by the Suzerain phase body's energy. The essence blood of a Suzerain/Myth Fae was undoubtedly more precious than the elemental shellfish. If he was willing to exchange this drop of Pinnacle Suzerain/Myth 2 Dark-type phase essence blood for 10 elemental shellfish, those factions that could take out 10 elemental shellfish would probably be eager to exchange for it. However, as long as Lin Yuan was not crazy, he would never easily exchange something like a Pinnacle Suzerain/Myth 2 phase essence blood. This was because if a spiritual ingredient of this level had to be described in one word, it would be a foundation. Only this kind of thing that could represent foundation could be accumulated. Lin Yuan's private faction could be considered more unfathomable by other factions in the future development. Lin Yuan carefully observed this drop of dark-type essence blood and found that the scent of this Pinnacle Suzerain/Myth 2 dark-type Fae was very similar to the faint scent left on the phoenix perching Chinese parasol tree. However, the faint scent on the phoenix perching Chinese parasol tree was constantly becoming fainter and fainter. Especially after the phoenix perching Chinese parasol tree had absorbed a large amount of pure spirit qi and grown rapidly in Lin Yuan's spirit lock spatial zone in the past few days. In other words, this phoenix perching Chinese parasol tree was either owned by this Pinnacle Suzerain/Myth 2 Fae or it had devoured the essence blood of a Pinnacle Myth 2 dark-type Fae like this drop of blood. Otherwise, it had devoured the essence blood of a Pinnacle Myth 2 dark-type Fae like this drop of blood. After checking it, Lin Yuan put the bottle of the Pinnacle Suzerain/Myth 2 dark-type phase essence blood into the amber button-shaped diamond phase storage box. Perhaps this drop of essence blood could be used in the future or be exchanged for some spiritual ingredients and phase of the same level. Then, Lin Yuan checked this source-type item that the mother of bloodbath had called strange and useless. Lin Yuan looked at the mother of bloodbath's data on the source-type item and narrowed his eyes. This source-type item was quite something. The mother of bloodbath was playing with its phone when it saw Lin Yuan checking the source-type item it had just thrown over. The mother of bloodbath said in disdain. This source-type item is for insect species phase to use, but I'm afraid no normal insect species Fae would be willing to use such a source-type item to transform themselves. After saying that, the mother of Bloodbath took the bag of fried chicken from Lin Yuan's hand and returned to its room. He was ready to go for another round of bone crushing. In his opinion, the mother of Bloodbath was right. This source-type item was indeed strange. If it was used by ordinary insect species Faes, not only would it not be beneficial to them, but it would also affect their evolution. However, this source-type item, which was harmful to normal insect species Faes or source-type lifeforms, happened to be suitable for him. It could be said that this source-type item was simply tailor-made for Lu Jie's contracted insect queen. Lu Jie's contracted source-type lifeform, Insect Queen, was a very special source-type lifeform. After contracting the source-type Insect Queen, Lu Jie no longer had any spare spiritual energy to contract other Faes or source-type lifeforms. The Insect Queen might be powerful, but as its grade increased, other spirit chi professionals would be able to contract more Faes, and their combat styles would be constantly diversified. However, Lu Jie could only use one Insect Queen to face all the combat situations. However, after the source-type Insect Queen reached Platinum, it had 5 abilities. The 5 abilities of the source-type Insect Queen were equivalent to a large number of 5 kinds of Faes. Moreover, Lu Jie's Insect Queen's Platinum ability was a main control lifeform like the Hurricane Owlet Moth. It was a source-type lifeform with a very good output and a super simple genetic model. However, no matter how strong the Insect Queen was, Lu Jie could only contract one Insect Queen in the end. The stronger Lu Jie became, the more limited he would be in terms of his future development. However, this seemingly useless and strange source-type item in front of Lin Yuan had become a treasure for Lu Jie to enhance his strength. In Lin Yuan's opinion, this really confirmed that saying. There was no useless source-type item. It only depended on whether this source-type item met the right person and was used by the right person. Under true data, this source-type item's name was Cocoon of Evolution. The role of the Cocoon of Evolution was like its name. It was a source-type item that could be used by insect species Faes and promoted their evolution. However, the part of the Cocoon of Evolution that promoted the evolution of the insect species Faes was not the insect species Faes themselves. Instead, it was the gene fragments in the insect species Faes that were independent of the main body. It was indeed a good thing that the Cocoon of Evolution could evolve the gene fragments in the insect species Faes that were independent of the main body. However, the genetic model of ordinary insect species Faes was one. Even if some insect species Faes could break up the genetic model in their body through external force and then use the Cocoon of Evolution to evolve. However, the scattered genetic model would always be separated from the mother's body afterwards. Every evolution process of insect species Faes was actually equivalent to a process of perfecting the genetic model. This was because every time a piece of the genetic model was broken up and made it become a gene fragment independent of the main body, it was equivalent to hurting the insect species Faes roots. Therefore, breaking up a part of the genetic model was actually fatal to insect species Faes. Moreover, the scattered genetic model would not evolve because it was separated from the main model when the insect species Faes evolved. The gene fragments in those insect species Faes that were independent of the main body would only remain in their previous state. The source-type Cocoon of Evolution could only evolve an independent gene fragment once. Therefore, for the evolution of insect species Faes, using the Cocoon of Evolution was obviously not worth it. However, this was only for ordinary insect species Faes and source-type lifeforms. Lu Jie's Insect Queen was not in this category. On the contrary, the Cocoon of Evolution was simply an existence that could directly improve the Insect Queen's abilities. This was because in the Insect Queen's body, each insect species Faes ability absorbed a gene fragment that existed independently of the main body. The Cocoon of Evolution could carry out partial optimization of the genetic model absorbed by the Insect Queen's abilities without changing the complexity of the genetic model. This was equivalent to increasing the overall strength of Lu Jie's contracted source-type lifeform, the Insect Queen. Today's first update, end of this chapter. Chapter 296. In fact, If this source-type cocoon of evolution could not only be used by insect species lifeforms, it would also have a great effect on Lin Yuan's source sand. This was because the cocoon of evolution could strengthen the source sand's heart-penetrating iron line. It could allow the heart-penetrating iron line, which was an alien insect with a very single genetic model, to be recombined and increase the hardness and sharpness of its head. There was no doubt that it could make the heart-penetrating iron line stronger without changing the original complexity of the genetic model. Unfortunately, the source-type cocoon of evolution could only be used by insect species phase. Moreover, even if Lin Yuan's source sand could use the cocoon of evolution, he would still leave it for Lu Jie to use. After giving it to Lu Jie, it would be equivalent to a transformation and rebirth of Lu Jie's strength. Although the cocoon of evolution sounded like a kind of spiritual ingredient to enhance phase, it was actually not like that. It was essentially a fungus-type source-type life form. It looked like a small piece of dragon's beard crisp, but it was actually completely composed of fine mycelium. The cocoon of evolution was actually somewhat similar to the source-type life form, the acid corrosion queen bee. They were both parasitic on other phase or source-type life forms. However, the acid corrosion queen bee's contract conditions were obviously much more difficult than the cocoon of evolution. The cocoon of evolution's parasitism was not like the acid corrosion queen bee's. When encountering an unsuitable host, not only could it not hatch, but it would also harm the host's life. The cocoon of evolution's parasitism method was very simple. It only needed to attach to an insect species Fey or insect species source-type life form, and it could be parasitized directly. The cocoon of evolution parasitizing the target was equivalent to completing the contract on its own. After that, every time the cocoon of evolution's grade increased by one level, it could strengthen a free gene fragment in the insect species Fey that the cocoon of evolution contracted. In other words, every time the cocoon of evolution's grade increased by one grade, one of Lu Jie's insect queen's abilities could metamorphose once. Lin Yuan carefully stored this source-type cocoon of evolution in the diamond face storage box and planned to let Lu Jie contract it when he returned to the royal capital's manor. Lin Yuan returned to his room in the guest house and closed his eyes to rest. After a while, he immediately logged onto Star Web with his creation master identity. This was because tonight was the time for the blind trade of the 10 flower brocade pearls displayed in the purchase with no loss store. He could not help but look forward to how many strange flames he could exchange for these 10 flower brocade pearls. He still believed in the purchasing power of those creation masters. Even if Lin Yuan did not trust anyone, he should not doubt how much creation masters desired phase that could increase the success rate of concocting spirit fluids. Lin Yuan had actually used this blind trade method to trade for the flower brocade pearls in his purchase with no loss store, apart from wanting to obtain more strange flames. He was still thinking of using this opportunity to gather the creation master's connections. After the blind trade, the creation masters who had just participated in the flower brocade pearls blind trade were all shocked. He realized that not long after, his purchase with no loss star web store had 10 new flower brocade pearls, and they were still using the blind trade method. Then, those creation masters who had made blind trades to obtain the flower brocade pearls would definitely join his purchase with no loss store's fan club. Thus, they would observe and wait. This was the same as letting Lin Yuan gather a batch of creation masters' resources. Moreover, this batch of creation masters' resources would be divided into 10 batches and released the 100 flower brocade pearls. The amount that could be accumulated would definitely not be small. Lin Yuan did not gather these creation masters' resources to let them help him evolve phase, improve their quality, or heal their damaged roots. Lin Yuan's main purpose of gathering these creation masters' resources was to be able to fleece them from the hands of these creation masters when he needed spiritual ingredients or phase in the future. Every high-class creation master was, without exception, a target that the major factions wanted to rope in. Therefore, every creation master was equivalent to the hub of a large or small network of relationships. Many of the connections would be centered around the creation master, and it would be like a spiderweb-like chain of resources being pulled out. Therefore, the resources in the hands of these high-class creation masters might hide something that Lin Yuan needed but could not get from Star Web or other factions. If Lin Yuan wanted to develop his own faction, weaving his own network was a necessary step. However, he would not directly communicate with these high-class creation masters or the affluent families. Instead, Lin Yuan wanted to build his faction into a layer of fog that the high-class creation masters and influential families could not see clearly. Sometimes, a sense of mystery was the most intimidating power for a faction. Lin Yuan had the spirit lock spatial zone and could always create some things that high-class creation masters and influential families could not find easily. Therefore, Lin Yuan had this capital. Lin Yuan did not know how these creation masters who wanted to exchange for the flower brocade pearls racked their brains to set a price for the blind trade. However, Lin Yuan knew that the number of followers of his purchase with no loss store had been increasing exponentially. All of this was due to the attention that the 10 flower brocade pearls had attracted in the past few days. Lin Yuan looked at the time. It was 9 p.m. In his purchase with no loss store, Lin Yuan checked his gains from the blind trade of the 10 flower brocade pearls. After checking the harvest, Lin Yuan could not help but be a little puzzled. Had the 10 creation masters who had obtained the flower brocade pearls through the blind trade discussed it? This was because Lin Yuan found that each flower brocade pearls had been exchanged for 10 mid-grade strange flames. This meant that the 10 flower brocade pearls had been exchanged for a total of 100 mid-grade strange flames through the blind trade. The high-grade strange flames produced from the Class 3 Abyss Dimensional Rift were already the strange flames that Class 4 and even Class 5 Lifestyle Class Spirit Chi professionals were used to. Other Lifestyle Class Spirit Chi professionals were not as rare and respected as creation masters. However, the purchasing power of high-class Lifestyle Class Spirit Chi professionals should not be underestimated. Therefore, high-grade strange flames had always been a scarce resource. These mid-grade strange flames produced from the Class 2 Abyss Dimensional Rift were almost comparable in value to the flower brocade pearls. Even a Class 2 Abyss Dimensional Rift might not necessarily produce a mid-grade strange flame. Second update. It's time to start the next plot. Red Thorn evolve in order to release 30 chapters before Christmas. I'm already saving my manuscript. In fact, a lot of content has been written, but I haven't posted it. Button is finally a salted fish with a saved manuscript. Asking for votes. Mua. End of this chapter. Chapter 297. But no matter what, Lin Yuan had to sigh at the purchasing power of these creation masters. These creation masters had actually forcefully bought the flower brocade pearls, which were the same price as the mid-grade strange flames, at nearly 10 times the price difference through blind trade. Lin Yuan was very satisfied with this blind trade. These 100 mid-grade strange flames were enough for the phoenix perching Chinese parasol tree to absorb for a period of time. In addition to absorbing the pure spirit chi in the spirit lock spatial zone and these 100 mid-grade strange flames, the phoenix perching Chinese parasol tree could also evolve. It could also provide energy for Chinese bloodline evolution and quality promotion. It could also help Chimie, which was already a fantasy breed Fae, to evolve from Fantasy I to Fantasy II. Lin Yuan did not expect his previous guess to be right. After the blind trade for the 10 flower brocade pearls, the 10 buyers who had won the flower brocade pearls had all entered Lin Yuan's purchase with no loss stores fan club. Furthermore, the 10 buyers who had obtained the flower brocade pearls were all creation masters. Lin Yuan did not choose to send any messages in the group and still chose to lurk like before. Ever since Lin Yuan had this purchase with no loss stores fan club, he had never sent a message. In fact, even the purchase with no loss stores fan club had been established and the braised egghead had ordered Elite X/Epic web spraying spiders from Lin Yuan and helped him establish it when he had obtained the exclusive skill, Transparent Spider Silk. After these 10 creation masters entered the purchase with no loss stores fan club, it immediately exploded. Even after including these 10 new creation masters, there were only over 40 people in the purchase with no loss stores fan club. It could be said that there was almost no Star Web Stores fan group on Star Web that had a greater density of creation masters than the purchase with no loss stores fan group. Moreover, the lowest rank among these 10 creation masters was also a Class 3 creation master. There were even 2 Class 4 creation masters among them. In fact, this was a little different from Lin Yuan's original idea. Lin Yuan secretly thought that he had still underestimated the resources that those Class 4 creation masters had accumulated before. Many Class 4 creation masters, especially Pinnacle Class 4 creation masters, should have hoarded a lot of flower brocade pearls. Perhaps there were fays of the same type that were better than the flower brocade pearls. Therefore, his desire to purchase the flower brocade pearls was no longer as strong. However, he was already very satisfied with the current situation. The purchase with no loss store's popularity on Star Web could be said to have gone from its original popularity to suddenly becoming popular. In fact, many Star Web posts and forums were discussing Lin Yuan's one-star boutique store. No matter who it was on the official Tieba or forum, as long as someone mentioned it, there would always be a discussion. However, at 10:00 tonight, Lin Yuan's purchase with no loss store's popularity would increase. Even the popularity of the Radiance Federation's tournament's elimination round had been suppressed by this news. Tian Ningning had gone to look for Long Tao, Shi Su, Zhao Xiaochun, and Fang Duod was exclusive reporters to discuss and draft a draft. They had decided to hold a 5-party press conference together. Long Tao, Shi Su, Zhao Xiaochun, and Fang Duo. Apart from Long Tao and Shi Su, they were considered low-profile Radiance 100 sequence members. For example, most of Zhao Xiaochun and Fang Duo's matters were published on Star Web in the form of news articles. A press conference like this was very rare. Moreover, among these 5 parties, Black's popularity had been rising on Star Web. He was a young prodigy who had risen miraculously but had not released any news articles. Therefore, these 5 press conferences, including the press conferences jointly held by the top Radiance 100 members and the rising young prodigy, Black, had almost attracted the attention of the entire Star Web. This press conference looked a little strange. Rather than saying it was a press conference, it was more like the other 4 Radiance 100's exclusive reporters were building momentum for Black. He did not know how Tian Ningning had negotiated. Or rather, this was the intention of the 4 Radiance 100 sequence members, Long Tao, Shi Su, Fang Duo, and Zhao Xiaochun. In short, after this 5-party press conference ended, Black's identity might not have become a Radiance 100 sequence member yet. However, in terms of reputation and popularity, he had actually faintly caught up with the momentum of the Radiance 100 sequence members. However, it was unknown who had repeatedly mentioned in the official forum of Black's identity that he had opened the purchase with no loss store as a creation master. It had also been revealed that the owner of this extremely popular one-star store on Star Web, the purchase with no loss store, was a very young genius creation master. Originally, this kind of discussion was nothing, but for some reason, someone compared the purchase with no loss store's owner with Black. This comparison immediately led to a problem. In the end, it even escalated to the point where some purchase with no loss fans had a fierce argument with some of Black's fans. In the end, it was Lu Lang, the madman Zuan, who came forward to calm the storm. Lin Yuan did not know about these things. When he found out, he received a call from Zhang Xiaobai. Lin Yuan listened to Zhang Xiaobai's Donald Duck-like laughter for nearly 10 minutes on the other end of the phone. Only then did he find out the whole story from Zhang Xiaobai's intermittent words. This made Lin Yuan quite speechless. What is this? He was compared with himself, and there was even a storm. This feeling was really indescribable. In the past 2 days, Lin Yuan's Star Web account as a creation master had received a lot of private messages. Many of them were asking if there were any more flower brocade pearls and wanted to buy them at a high price. Most of the people who sent these messages were high-class creation masters. However, Lin Yuan did not pay attention to these high-class creation masters. This was because the next batch of flower brocade pearls would naturally be on the shelves when it was time. At the same time, Lin Yuan also realized that sometimes, the more mysterious and aloof you appeared, the more you would be valued by others. For example, Lin Yuan's purchase with no loss store, Since Lin Yuan had not spoken in the group, these 10 new creation masters would always look at the group. In order to wait for Lin Yuan, these 10 creation masters, who were at least class 3 creation masters, would always look at the group. Slowly, these 10 creation masters, who were at least class 3, were actually brought to mingle with the members of the group. They had even become the group of people that had the highest number of comments. Lin Yuan found that after clearing the messages in his purchase with No Loss Stores fan group, he did not look at it for a few minutes, and there were 999 plus messages. Lin Yuan could not help but sigh. When these creation masters joined the group, ordinary people could not compare to them. In fact, what Lin Yuan did not know was that these 8 class 3 creation masters and the 2 class 4 creation masters joined the group with the intention of cozying up to him. Today's third update asking for votes. End of this chapter. Chapter 298. As early as when Lin Yuan's purchase with No Loss Star web store had released the news of exchanging any bronze/epic spirit evolution for source-type items and gold medals and spiritual materials, Lin Yuan's purchase with No Loss Star web store had this proved that this purchase with No Loss Star web store had at least a pinnacle class for creation master standing behind it. Otherwise, no matter what, they would not have the confidence to release such an exchange news. The 2 class 4 creation masters that had entered Lin Yuan's purchase with No Loss Stores fan club were only elementary class 4 creation masters. After creation masters reached class 4, there were 4 small stages: elementary, intermediate, advanced, and pinnacle. Every small stage was like 1,000 miles apart. Therefore, it was unknown how many class 3, elementary class 4, and intermediate class 4 creation masters were paying attention. They wanted to have a chance to communicate with the purchase with No Loss Stores owner. In fact, these creation masters were using 10 mid-grade strange flames to exchange for the flower brocade pearls because they wanted to fight for a chance to interact with the pinnacle class for creation masters from the purchase with No Loss Store. However, Lin Yuan did not know all this, and it had nothing to do with him. Under Lin Yuan's indifferent treatment, the purchase with No Loss Stores fan club had become a place where class 3 creation masters, elementary class 4 creation masters, and intermediate class 4 creation masters racked their brains to enter. Invisibly, the prototype of Lin Yuan's purchase with No Loss Stores relationship network had slowly spread out. This relationship network might only be in its prototype form now. But even if it was in its prototype form, this prototype had unknowingly outlined an unimaginably large outline. More importantly, even if this prototype of the relationship network was huge, there were not many people forming the relationship network invisibly. If each person in the relationship network was described as a chain of resources, then Lin Yuan's purchase with No Loss Stores relationship network would be made up of top resource chains. Moreover, the reason why the prototype of this relationship network was spreading out slowly was mainly because those who wanted to join the relationship network could not snatch Lin Yuan's purchase with No Loss Stores items, so there was no way to join this fan club. Just as he was about to leave Star Web, Lin Yuan suddenly realized that Listen, who had been very active in the group before, did not seem to speak much. When Lin Yuan occasionally looked at the group over the past few days, he did not see Listen appear. He did not know what Listen was busy with. Lin Yuan did not think much about it. Soon, Gao Feng arrived at the agreed location with Lin Yuan and hurriedly came to find Lin Yuan. When Lin Yuan received Gao Feng's call, he knew that Gao Feng had arrived. He put on a coat and left the guest house. After exiting the guest house, Lin Yuan noticed that Gao Feng was looking around like a little fool. In his hand was a huge box. Lin Yuan shouted and waved at Gao Feng. When Gao Feng saw Lin Yuan, his eyes immediately lit up. He walked over and stuffed the box into Lin Yuan's hand. "Brother, these are the specialties of Wind Mist City that I brought for you. They are all the special soft pastries of Wind Mist City. There are ginger hibiscus cakes, jujube paste peach cakes, bean paste crab shell cheese, and so on. They are all very suitable for this season." Lin Yuan took it and realized that the box wasn't light at all. This box of pastries weighed at least 15 caddies. In Wind Mist City, there was only one old store that could produce these soft pastries. He didn't know if Gao Feng had robbed the store or if he had gotten so many pastries. Lin Yuan remembered that the mother of Bloodbath had been talking about this old store's soft pastries in the group a few days ago. However, the soft pastries of Wind Mist City's old store were not only limited, but they could only be queued up at the store. Obviously, even if the mother of Bloodbath was a big foodie, as long as its foodie attribute was not maxed out, it would not specially queue up in Wind Mist City to eat these soft pastries. However, now that Gao Feng was here, the mother of Bloodbath's foodie heart was satisfied. Lin Yuan stored the box of pastries into his amber button-shaped diamond face storage box and said, "Since you brought me Wind Mist City specialties, I'll treat you to a meal and welcome you. Since you brought me the specialty of Wind Mist City, I'll return the favor and treat you to a meal to welcome you." Gao Feng laughed heartily and naturally put his hand on Lin Yuan's shoulder like a brother. Lin Yuan brought Gao Feng and walked toward the Spirit Food Pavilion branch not far away. They chatted and laughed while walking, full of youthful spirit. After Gao Feng and Lin Yuan came into contact, other than feeling that Lin Yuan had the capital to make friends with him, he had the intention to befriend him. In the subsequent transactions, Gao Feng also felt that Lin Yuan was very thoughtful and meticulous. Moreover, after coming into contact with Lin Yuan, Gao Feng felt that their temperaments were very compatible. Although they had not known each other for a long time, Gao Feng had already regarded Lin Yuan as one of the few good friends he recognized. Lin Yuan did not ask the mother of Bloodbath to eat at the Spirit Food Pavilion. The reason was very simple. The mother of Bloodbath was not in this guest house at this time. Ever since the mother of Bloodbath joined those food groups, it had met many netizens. In the past few days, the mother of Bloodbath had been busy inviting nearby netizens to taste food and participate in food gathering. Lin Yuan could not help but feel a little helpless. If those netizens who participated in the food gathering with the mother of Bloodbath knew that the person sitting in front of them and eating food with them was actually a suzerain/myth 2 Fey, they would probably faint from fright. Lin Yuan had the red crystal spider that the mother of Bloodbath had condensed. As long as Lin Yuan crushed this crystal spider, the mother of Bloodbath would sense it and immediately rush over. At the same time, this red crystal spider also contained the power of the mother of Bloodbath's all-out attack and protection. When he arrived at the Spirit Food Pavilion, Lin Yuan immediately ordered a private room and handed the menu to Gao Feng. Soon, the two of them ordered a table of good dishes. After ordering, Lin Yuan saw that Gao Feng looked like he wanted to say something but stopped on second thought. Lin Yuan immediately knew that Gao Feng wanted to see the completely jade-textured green elm in his hand that he had mentioned on the phone before. Lin Yuan was very understanding and summoned the completely jade-textured green elm. It was a green elm board that weighed 250 kilograms and was about 5 centimeters thick. It was abnormally warm in Lin Yuan's hand. When Lin Yuan summoned this completely jade-textured green elm, Gao Feng only felt that there was a piece of beautiful navy blue jade in front of him. However, this beautiful navy blue jade carried a kind of green elm's unique fragrance and the green elm's hair-like wood grain. Gao Feng immediately knew that this big fellow that Lin Yuan took out was a completely jade-textured green elm. This made Gao Feng very shocked. Gao Feng only felt that he could not see Lin Yuan's identity clearly. Today's first update asking for votes, end of this chapter. Chapter 299. This was because this completely jade-textured green elm was much larger than the jade-textured green elm that Gao Feng's family's old man used to carve the Thousand Mountains Hidden Peaks painting. Gao Feng realized that Lin Yuan could always take out such a treasure calmly. Lin Yuan knocked on the completely jade-textured green elm with his hand and looked at Gao Feng. "What do you think about the quality of this completely jade-textured green elm weighing 250 kilograms? When Gao Feng heard this, his expression froze again. He looked at the completely jade-textured green elm board in disbelief. Since Lin Yuan said it was a round number of 250 caddies, it was obvious that he would not speak without thinking. Could it be that such a large piece of completely jade-textured green elm was actually of the highest quality? Gao Feng carefully observed and took out a tool that was specially used to weigh completely jade-textured wood from the petal-shaped diamond phase storage box on his wrist. Gao Feng felt that this world was simply too crazy. However, it also made Gao Feng happy. Gao Feng couldn't help but think that if he could buy this completely jade-textured green elm, he could give it to his old man during the new year. At that time, his father would definitely be very happy. However, even though Gao Feng was the only direct descendant of the Gao family, the richest family in Wind Mist City, he couldn't help but feel troubled. This was because 250 kilograms of top-grade jade-textured green elm was not something that could be exchanged for with ordinary items. As a direct descendant of Wind Mist City's Gao family, Gao Feng could allocate the Gao family's resources at will. However, Gao Feng didn't want to use the Gao family's public resources for his grandfather's New Year's gift. Although Gao Feng was a direct descendant of the Gao family, anything he used could be considered a high-priced resource. However, even if it was the Gao family's resources, Gao Feng still wanted to take money out of his own little treasury in exchange for this completely jade-textured supreme-grade green elm. For Gao Feng, a direct descendant of a wealthy family, whether it was his birthday or New Year, his elders had given him many gifts since he was young. Therefore, Gao Feng's treasury was quite rich. From Gao Feng's point of view, if he were to use his family's public resources to exchange for this completely jade-textured green elm, it would be a waste. He had somewhat lost his filial piety. Gao Feng asked cautiously, "Brother, this piece of completely jade-textured green elm is the best of the best. What are you going to trade for it?" Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan revealed a bright smile. Lin Yuan liked to transact with people like Gao Feng, who would speak his mind without beating around the bush. He didn't beat around the bush and said his plan. "I want another scorching elemental shellfish. I want another scorching elemental light. Brother, the price of the scorching elemental shellfish isn't as cheap as the infant elemental shellfish. Even 3 pieces of completely jade-textured green elm of the same quality as this one definitely can't be exchanged for a scorching elemental shellfish." One had to know that the mutation of the elemental shellfish required the nourishment of extremely pure spiritual energy. Even a Class 4 creation master would have to expend countless spiritual ingredients and pay a huge price to obtain the pure spirit chi that could induce the elemental shellfish's mutation. Elm family's price of elm. The elm element. Previously, when Gao Feng had taken out 4 infant elemental shellfish from the Gao family to exchange for a bronze/epic fey, he had received plenty of attention from the clan. Even a wealthy family like the Gao family couldn't use something like the elemental shellfish easily. However, after seeing the bronze/epic yellow spring lily that Gao Feng had exchanged for, nobody said anything. However, if he wanted to use a scorching elemental shellfish to exchange for this completely jade-textured green elm, he would have to pay the price. Even if Gao Feng treated Lin Yuan as a friend, with the weight of friendship and value, Gao Feng wouldn't be able to sit down and make this decision. However, after hearing Gao Feng's words, he roughly knew Gao Feng's bottom line. He said directly, "I can use 3 completely jade-textured green elm boards of this quality to exchange for a young elemental shellfish." Lin Yuan's words made Gao Feng, who originally wanted to refuse, feel conflicted. That was because the price was stuck between Gao Feng's approval and disapproval. In Gao Feng's opinion, it was fine whether he wanted to exchange or not. However, Gao Feng did not have any infant elemental shellfish on hand. If Gao Feng wanted to get one, he would have to use some connections. Gao Feng gritted his teeth and asked, "Brother, you have been exchanging for infant elemental shellfish. Do you need to use single elemental shellfish to nurture phase?" Gao Feng was originally in between approval and disapproval, and a descendant of an influential clan like Gao Feng would never do such a deal. If there was no profit to be made or if the profit was too small, it would be the same as working blindly. However, since Gao Feng treated Lin Yuan as a friend, it was a different matter. Gao Feng always had a principle, and that was that as long as he recognized a friend, he would definitely help a friend. Lin Yuan didn't hide anything and nodded. That's right, I do need the elemental shellfish to nurture phase. Gao Feng immediately said, brother, our Gao family doesn't have any infant elemental shellfish anymore. Brother, our Gao family doesn't have any infant elemental shellfish anymore, but I should be able to get one. If I can get an infant elemental shellfish, I will inform you, and we can trade then. Gao Feng was very sincere when he said this, and Lin Yuan nodded in response. It seemed like Gao Feng wasn't just making an excuse when he said that the Gao family only had 4 infant elemental shellfish. They were really only left with 4 infant elemental shellfish. However, it wasn't impossible for Gao Feng, who was the only direct bloodline descendant of the Gao family, to use his connections to obtain an infant elemental shellfish. Obviously, Lin Yuan could not be compared to Gao Feng in this aspect. Lin Yuan's resource chain hadn't been fully constructed, but Gao Feng was considered a member of Lin Yuan's resource chain. When Lin Yuan said that he wanted to exchange for the scorching elemental shellfish, he wanted to test Gao Feng's bottom line. If Gao Feng was really willing to use the scorching elemental shellfish to exchange for more resources, Lin Yuan wouldn't be willing either. He thought that the purer the spirit qi, the higher the purity of the pearls produced by the evolved scorching elemental shellfish. For the scorching elemental shellfish, Lin Yuan was still willing to use the infant elemental shellfish to mutate. The purity of the spirit qi obtained by the spirit pool and the spirit lock spatial zone wasn't comparable to the spirit qi produced by a creation master using spiritual ingredients to mix spirit liquids. Even the class 5 creation master bamboo monarch couldn't compare. Therefore, only the pearls produced by the scorching elemental shellfish that Lin Yuan mutated would be the best. Second update asking for tickets, end of this chapter. Chapter 300. Lin Yuan only had a total of 4 completely jade-textured green elm boards in the diamond face storage box. This was because when Lin Yuan had placed the precious wood in the spirit lock spatial zone, he had placed 4 of each type of precious wood. He had evenly distributed the space on the 2 huge parasol wood shelves in the spirit lock spatial zone. With a wave of his hand, Lin Yuan took out the remaining 3 completely jade-textured green elm boards from the diamond face storage box and said, in addition to the 3 agreed upon, I still have 1 completely jade-textured green elm board. Apart from the 3 we agreed on, I also have a completely jade-textured green elm board. These 4 completely jade-textured green elm boards can be made into large objects like beds or dining tables. When Gao Feng saw Lin Yuan take out another 3 completely jade-textured green elm boards, his face overflowed with joy. The completely jade-textured green elm had a strong function of nourishing vitality. If it could be used to make a bed, it would simply be too suitable for his grandfather. However, Gao Feng had never dared to think of using this completely jade-textured green elm that was 5 times heavier to make a bed. At the same time, Gao Feng was a little touched, as Lin Yuan's current actions showed that Lin Yuan had accepted his favor. Of course, Gao Feng valued his friends very much. If his friends needed help, he would definitely help them. However, the most frightening thing when making friends was that the other party would turn a blind eye to his efforts. However, Gao Feng did not expect that he had only helped Lin Yuan with a small favor. It was just like a weed, but Lin Yuan had given him a mulberry elm. In fact, Lin Yuan also had his own principles. Having lived 2 lifetimes, Lin Yuan understood a lot of principles. Perhaps all the emotions in this world, except for family, were mutual. Therefore, Lin Yuan would not turn a blind eye to others' kindness and only knew how to accept it. Gao Feng looked at the 4 completely jade-textured green elm boards that emitted a green jade-like luster and said with some gratitude, "Brother, what do you want to exchange for this 4th completely jade-textured green elm board? Just let me know what you want to exchange for this 4th completely jade-textured green elm board." In Gao Feng's opinion, it was simply a blessing to have 1 more completely jade-textured green elm board that could be made into a bed for his grandfather as a gift. If you want to exchange for these 4, I can give them to you. Use the 4th completely jade-textured green elm board to exchange for mid-grade strange flames. The large completely jade-textured green elm board that Lin Yuan had taken out was intrinsically rarer than the flower brocade pearls. On one hand, Lin Yuan had taken out this fourth completely jade-textured green elm board to return Gao Feng's favor. On the other hand, Gao Feng had decided to exchange with him because he needed elemental shellfish. On the other hand, Gao Feng had decided to trade with him because he needed elemental shellfish. Then, he fed these mid-grade strange flames to the phoenix perching Chinese parasol tree to see if Chimey could advance from Fantasy I to Fantasy II. Gao Feng only had one feeling in his heart, and that was that Lin Yuan was simply too righteous. If Gao Feng wasn't afraid that Lin Yuan wouldn't be willing, he would have dragged Lin Yuan to become sworn brothers. During the meal, Gao Feng and Lin Yuan finalized that the fourth piece of completely jade-textured green elm would be exchanged for 30 mid-grade strange flames. During the meal, Gao Feng and Lin Yuan decided to exchange the fourth completely jade-textured green elm board for 30 mid-grade strange flames. Originally, Gao Feng had planned to stay here for another 2 days. However, now that the deal had been finalized, Gao Feng wanted to use his own strength to think of a way to obtain the infant elemental shellfish. Gao Feng had planned to stay for 2 more days, but now that the deal had been finalized, Gao Feng had to use his own strength to find a way to obtain the young elemental shellfish. After returning from the restaurant, Lin Yuan went to the Mother of Bloodbath's room to find it. He gave the soft pastries that Gao Feng had brought from Wind Mist City to the Mother of Bloodbath. The Mother of Bloodbath had been thinking about bringing pastries to Wind Mist City after being recommended as a foodie. Looking at the quantity and the size of the box, it should be able to eat for a while. Looking at the quantity and the size of the box, there should be a lot of food and should be able to eat for a while. However, the Mother of Bloodbath was most curious about Wind Mist City's soft pastries because of the beautiful patterns that they had. At that moment, Lin Yuan suddenly realized that Red Thorn, which had been sleeping in his leaf-shaped diamond face storage box, had awakened. Lin Yuan immediately summoned Red Thorn. After Lin Yuan summoned Red Thorn, it immediately placed the vine that didn't have any thorns on Lin Yuan's hand, just like how it did in the past. Lin Yuan took out a red ribbon from his diamond face storage box and tied it to Red Thorn's vine, which did not have any thorns, into a bough. Red Thorn had been slowly evolving, and its intelligence was constantly improving. Previously, Red Thorn's IQ was that of a 2-year-old baby that only knew how to express simple emotions. In that case, Red Thorn's current IQ was equivalent to that of a 4-year-old child. Red Thorn already had a sense of beauty. Therefore, every time Lin Yuan summoned Red Thorn, he would tie a red ribbon on the vine. In the beginning, this red ribbon would always be cut by Red Thorn's other vines. But gradually, as long as Red Thorn didn't engage in battle, the red ribbon tied to the vine would no longer be damaged. This meant that Red Thorn's control over its vines was also increasing imperceptibly. When the acid corrosion Queen Bee and Red Thorn had been put into the leaf-shaped diamond face storage box, they had looked aggrieved. However, after Red Thorn woke up, the acid corrosion Queen Bee happily circled around Red Thorn's mouth of relinquish. It seemed like there was a saying that was true. Bootlickers were always so tireless. Because a bootlicker would get used to it. The Mother of Bloodbath was surprised to see Red Thorn again. The Mother of Bloodbath could tell that Red Thorn had reached Bronze X/Epic. The Mother of Bloodbath noticed that Lin Yuan was looking at Red Thorn with some melancholy. "Are you worried about improving your quality?" Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan nodded. The Mother of Bloodbath pondered for a moment before replying. "Since this source-type life form of yours is a plant, then perhaps there will be an opportunity in the depths of the endless forest." Lin Yuan's eyes lit up. "Are you referring to the opportunity to upgrade Red Thorn's grade?" Although Lin Yuan asked this, he already had a definite answer in his heart. If that was not the case, the Mother of Bloodbath would not have asked him why he was worried and said that after getting the answer. Therefore, Lin Yuan's eyes were filled with excitement. When the Mother of Bloodbath saw the excitement in Lin Yuan's eyes, its expressionless cold and elegant face revealed a joyful "Yes, but I'm not sure if it will work." Unknowingly, it had already been chapter 300 today's third chapter asking for tickets. End of this chapter. Chapter 301. The mother of Bloodbath suddenly looked out the window to the north, and a trace of nostalgia flashed in its eyes. The mother of Bloodbath turned its head and said, "Rest for another 3 days. I'll go and prepare a little during these 3 days. We'll set off on time in the morning 3 days later." In these few days, if one were to say who had it the worst, it would definitely be Crow. Crow's emotions had been changing drastically and extremely in the past few days. In the beginning, Crow's emotions were mainly anger at the theft of the phoenix perching Chinese parasol tree and fear of messing up the mission arranged by Lord 7th Page War. However, the anger of the theft of the phoenix perching Chinese parasol tree had always dominated. Gradually, Crow no longer had the leisure to care about the anger formed by the theft of the phoenix perching Chinese parasol tree, which had given it a chance to advance to Myth 3. Crow's mind was now completely covered by fear. At that moment, Crow was kneeling on the floor of the room. It was pressed tightly to the ground by an indescribable and terrifying pressure, unable to move. This pressure carried with it an extremely heavy and desolate aura. A voice of pity and mockery rang out. When the voice rang out, on the table in front of the kneeling Crow, there was a pot of golden datura flowers in full bloom. Chanter Crow, as one of the 8 pages and the master of the Tower of War, I have never seen such a stupid person. You can't even do such a small thing properly. You're really useless. When the voice of pity and mockery said the words really useless, the murderous intent instantly rose to the peak. It made Crow, who was kneeling on the ground, feel as if its life would be crushed into pieces at any time under this aura. Apart from this imposing manner, the words really useless came from Lord 7th Page War's mouth, which made the Crow even more terrified. If Crow had not reached the peak of Suzerain/Myth 2, it would have been scared out of its wits. As a chanter, Crow had only been in contact with the Tower of War's lead chanter under 7th Page War. This was the first time Crow was lucky enough to be directly assigned by 7th Page War. Crow was not qualified to understand 7th Page War. However, Crow also knew 7th Page War's principles. To Lord 7th Page War, a useful life. Death to the useless. When 7th Page War spat out the words useless person, the Crow knew that Lord 7th Page War wanted to kill it. Crow knew that if he couldn't fight for a chance of survival, then only death awaited him. Although 7th Page War was not in the Radiance Federation but in the Tower of War, which was an unknown distance away from the Radiance Federation, it would be very easy for it to kill him. With a single word, the entire Tower of War and even the Tower Cannon would attack him. Lord 7th Page War. I haven't been exposed. Besides, I've taken care of the business in the sea. It's done. Even the 8 pages of the Pagoda Cannon hadn't decided whether or not to carry out the plan in the sea, and you actually said that you had done it? Since when is it up to a mere chanter like you to decide on the Pagoda Cannon? The Crow immediately knew that it had said the wrong thing, trembling as it tried to explain itself. Lord 7th Page War, everything in the sea has been prepared. There's been a change in your foolish plan. I order you to replace the sacred source item placed in the sea with 5 source-type items and bring it back to the Tower of War. Before the Crow could respond, a cold snort exploded in the Crow's ears. Since the business on land has been exposed, it's no longer possible to carry out the plan on land in the Radiance Federation. Therefore, if there's another mistake in the sea, I'll send you to 3rd Page Eternal Sin. Upon hearing the words 3rd Page Eternal Sin, the Crow was so scared that it could only kowtow and beg for mercy. Crow kowtowed for an entire day and night, but by the time Crow's head touched the ground, the golden datura flower had already withered. The Crow did not dare to raise its head. It kowtowed for 3 days and 3 nights and knelt on the ground for another 3 days before it dared to raise its head. However, when it raised its head and found that the golden datura flower had withered, its face immediately turned ashen. At the same time, a crazy decision flashed in its eyes. When it saw the withered datura flower just now, it knew that it had to advance to Myth 3 to prove that it was still a useful person. Only then would it have a chance to survive. The crow looked at the depths of the endless forest with its cruel, ruthless, and crazy eyes through the half-open window. After returning to his homestay house, Lin Yuan hurried into the Spirit Lock spatial zone. He was going to deal with the 100 mid-grade strange flames that Ostrich Logistics had sent over and exchanged for 10 flower brocade pearls. For the whole day, Lin Yuan had been feeding those mid-grade strange flames to the phoenix perching Chinese parasol tree in the Spirit Lock spatial zone. It was not troublesome for Lin Yuan to feed those mid-grade strange flames to the phoenix perching Chinese parasol tree. The phoenix perching Chinese parasol tree had a fire storage function. In other words, it could first absorb the mid-grade strange flames through its roots and store them in those golden leaves on the branches. Each golden leaf could store a kind of strange flame. There were many types of these 100 mid-grade strange flames. Every type of mid-level strange flame had its own characteristics, and even the color of the flame was strange. The colors of these flames dazzled Lin Yuan because each type of mid-grade strange flame had a different color. Chapter 302. Not long after Gao Feng returned to Wind Mist City, he sent the infant elemental shellfish and the 30 mid-grade strange flames to Lin Yuan through Ostrich Logistics. As for Lin Yuan's 4 pieces of completely jade-textured green elm, he had asked Gao Feng to bring them back when he had returned to the Gao residence. Lin Yuan could feel that Gao Feng wanted to befriend him. Therefore, Lin Yuan also had the intention of befriending Gao Feng. When Lin Yuan had been thinking about forming his guild club's main team, he had thought of Gao Feng. However, Gao Feng's contracted gold/fantasy breed breeze hibiscus, 2 spirit spring lilies, and 1 yellow spring lily. It was enough to support a soft girl as a support and bear all the responsibilities. A purely support-type spirit chi professional like Gao Feng, along with the spirit spring lily and breeze hibiscus, was mainly used to recover the consumed spiritual power for the phase. It could be said that Gao Feng's support ability was extremely useful for both his contracted red thorn and Lu Jie's contracted insect queen. In Lin Yuan's opinion, Gao Feng was a power bank with a huge battery capacity. Although it didn't have any attack capabilities, the battery pack's endurance was much more useful than a healing-type spirit chi professional in a team to a certain extent. The club's main team that Lin Yuan had established was destined not to find another healing-type spirit chi professional. This was because Lin Yuan could take on the responsibility of a healing-type spirit chi professional. However, Lin Yuan had never seen Gao Feng's strength before. Moreover, although Lin Yuan had the idea to establish his own guild club, it had yet to be built. However, Lin Yuan did have some thoughts about Gao Feng. He fed the 30 mid-grade strange flames to the phoenix perching Chinese parasol tree again. He began to use the same method as when he strengthened the aquamarine elemental shellfish and the celestine elemental shellfish. This new infant elemental shellfish was induced to mutate into a scorching elemental shellfish using a very ordinary bronze fire attribute spirit material. The elemental pearls produced by the scorching elemental shellfish contained rich fire elements, which could directly provide enough fire attribute energy to the twin red pagoda's main flower, the life-form sacrificial fire that had yet to mature. Now, the scorching elemental shellfish had finally been arranged. As such, he only needed to wait quietly for a new life-form sacrificial fire. As long as Chimey woke up from its slumber, its quality would advance from Fantasy I to Fantasy II. He did not intend to keep this new life-form sacrificial fire in case of emergency, like the mature one from before. The life-form sacrificial fire contained powerful vitality energy. If he used such a flame to roast the fruit wood, he would definitely be able to fully release the natural sweetness and vitality within the fruit wood. He felt that he could build a fireplace in the mansion and place the life-form sacrificial fire in the fireplace to roast the completely jade-textured fruit trees. This kind of fruity fragrance that was full of vitality would definitely add a different kind of charm to the winter in the manor. If Lin Yuan's thoughts were known by other experts, they would risk being hunted down by the Moon Empress. He had to make a move first and beat Lin Yuan up. Using the life form sacrificial fire, ranked 7th among all fire-attributed spirit materials in the world, to light a fireplace? Do you have to be so extravagant? Was there a need to be so excessive? Lin Yuan was leisurely integrating resources and accumulating his foundation. However, the Sparrow Voice Lowly Goddess's live streaming room on Star Web had long been in an uproar. The Sparrow Voice Lowly Goddess had disappeared for more than a month and had not live streamed. This time, the Sparrow Voice Lowly Goddess had disappeared for more than a month and had not live streamed. This time, the Sparrow Voice Lowly Goddess's fans were in trouble. Of course, the most difficult one was the Radiance 100 Sequence 87, Lord Ranger Bai Hao. During this month, Bai Hao had no appetite to eat or sleep well and had lost more than 5 kilograms. If the S tournament had not already started, Bai Hao would have to force himself to participate in the S tournament. Bai Hao, who was already thin, would probably lose less than 50 kilograms from his original weight of 125 kilograms. At night, Lin Yuan went to bed early. He was full of anticipation for tomorrow. Lin Yuan did not know what the Mother of Bloodbath was talking about, which might help Red Thorn upgrade from Epic to Legend. However, if it was really as the Mother of Bloodbath had said, Red Thorn could advance from Epic to Legend. Then, Red Thorn would be able to fuse with the Willpower Rune and become a fantasy breed. After a good night's sleep, the next morning, Lin Yuan and the Mother of Bloodbath set out on a journey to the depths of the Endless Forest to search for Red Thorn's chance to become a fantasy breed after a very enthusiastic breakfast prepared by the Grandpa and Grandma who opened the legendary hotel. This time, Lin Yuan ordered a Diamond Divine Travel Black Swallow on Star Web. According to the Mother of Bloodbath, the place to go to the depths of the Endless Forest was a little far. It was less than a month away from the new year. Since Lin Yuan had made up his mind to go to the Radiant Moon Palace to accompany his master, the Moon Empress, for the new year, he had to make the best use of his time on the journey. The Divine Travel Black Swallow became even scarier at Diamond, but its speed was more than 10 times faster. The Mother of Bloodbath transformed into a human form and stood on the Divine Travel Black Swallow's back, giving it directions. Suddenly, the Mother of Bloodbath turned its head and looked at Lin Yuan. Do you think a bird fey like the Divine Travel Black Swallow, which doesn't have much meat and is all bones, should be made into a dried pot with salt and pepper, or smoked cold sauce? The Mother of Bloodbath had just finished speaking, and before Lin Yuan could react, he felt the Divine Travel Black Swallow under him suddenly tremble. Lin Yuan hurriedly comforted the Divine Travel Black Swallow and said to the Mother of Bloodbath, "Don't make such a joke in the sky. Don't make such a joke in the sky." Then, Lin Yuan pondered for a moment and said softly, "I don't think either of them is good. I don't think these two are good, but it should be good to make soup." When the Divine Travel Black Swallow had trembled just now, the Mother of Bloodbath had released its Suzerain/Myth 2 aura. The Diamond Divine Travel Black Swallow was intimidated, and the Divine Travel Black Swallow flew in the designated direction. The Divine Travel Black Swallow did not dare to blame the Mother of Bloodbath, but after hearing Lin Yuan say that it was suitable to make soup, the Diamond Divine Travel Black Swallow quietly raised the feathers under Lin Yuan's butt, causing Lin Yuan to grimace in pain. After flying for a while, the Mother of Bloodbath turned into a red crystal spider that was 1 centimeter in size. It lay on the leaf-shaped diamond face storage box that Lin Yuan was wearing on his clothes. When it was not eating delicacies, the Mother of Bloodbath clearly preferred its original form. Lin Yuan closed his eyes to rest, feeling Red Thorn's state and the characteristics of the 2 willpower runes in his spiritual spatial zone. Lin Yuan finally stopped hesitating and made a decision. Second update asking for votes, end of this chapter. Chapter 303. Lin Yuan planned to use the willpower rune that contained vitality in destruction for Red Thorn to use. It was a willpower rune that could be fused into a fantasy breed. As for the willpower rune comprehended from the extreme massacre, Lin Yuan felt that after Red Thorn became more and more dependent on the Sea of Flowers to fight. This willpower rune comprehended from the extreme massacre was becoming more and more incompatible with Red Thorn. Because this was the willpower rune that he had comprehended from the extreme massacre, the feeling of the extreme massacre had a sudden explosive feeling. In Lin Yuan's opinion, the sudden explosive feeling was more suitable for power offense-type phase that focused on single attacks. This willpower rune that contained vitality in destruction was also suitable for Red Thorn. It was just that between the two, Lin Yuan chose the willpower rune that contained vitality in destruction. At the location designated by the Mother of Bloodbath, the Diamond Divine Travel Black Swallow stopped in an open space in the depths of the endless forest. After Lin Yuan jumped off the Divine Travel Black Swallow's back, it seemed to be afraid that the Mother of Bloodbath would use it to make soup and mix it with salt and pepper. It flew away with a swoosh. When the Mother of Bloodbath reached the depths of the endless forest, it transformed into its human form and said to Lin Yuan, "This place is very suitable for creation masters to conduct wild harvesting. This place is very suitable for creation masters to conduct wild harvesting. You can harvest while we hurry along. If it isn't for the fact that we can't fly at high altitudes, we can let the Divine Travel Black Swallow fly a little further." Lin Yuan was a little confused and asked, "Why is flying at high altitudes prohibited here?" Upon hearing that, the Mother of Bloodbath had a trace of nostalgia on its face. Because she doesn't like something flying above her head. Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan immediately understood the Mother of Bloodbath's meaning. As soon as Lin Yuan heard that, he immediately understood what the Mother of Bloodbath meant. It seemed that the Mother of Bloodbath should also be a suzerain/myth breed fae. Only suzerain/myth breed fays were qualified to set such rules in the depths of the endless forest and would be obeyed by other fays. The Mother of Bloodbath looked down at the ground and pushed aside a layer of snow on the ground. Suddenly, it bent down to pick up a plant that looked like a weed and handed it to Lin Yuan. "There are many talented fays here. This wild orchid is really well hidden. It actually knows how to grow shorter in the weeds and let the weeds cover it." Lin Yuan looked at the wild orchid in his hand that looked like weeds. After opening true data, he discovered that this orchid fae that looked like a weed was actually the Dragon's Mouth orchid, which was rather precious among the orchid fays. This Dragon's Mouth orchid was far more precious than the white jade snow orchid that he had nurtured previously. The orchids produced by the Dragon's Mouth orchid were huge, like the tongue of a dragon. The Dragon's Mouth orchid's only function was to stimulate the bloodline of the fae that contained the dragon species fae's bloodline. It could be said that the flowers of the Dragon's Mouth orchid were very suitable for Blackie. When Blackie the spirit gather goldfish advanced to bronze grade, it awakened the thin dragon species bloodline of the spirit siphon goldfish. Since then, the spirit gather goldfish Blackie's dragon species bloodline had not changed at all. During this time, the spirit gather goldfish, Little Black, had been eating the butterfly shells to increase the possibility of awakening the dragon bloodline. However, there had been no significant effect. However, as long as he nurtured this Dragon's Mouth orchid's grade, he would be able to use it. With the Dragon's Mouth orchid's flowers, the dragon species bloodline in Blackie's body could be stimulated again. The dragon species bloodline was divided into ancient dragons and flood dragons. Looking at the spirit gather goldfish's current appearance, it was obvious that the direction of awakening the dragon species bloodline was toward the flood dragon species. As for how much the spirit gather goldfish's dragon species bloodline could be stimulated, Lin Yuan did not dare to be sure. However, if the spirit gather goldfish's dragon species bloodline could be strengthened again, then when it became a fantasy breed, there was a great possibility that it would undergo a racial transition. It would evolve from a fish to a dragon. However, this situation was very unlikely. The Mother of Bloodbath said to Lin Yuan, "Given our current speed, we should still need 2 more days. At our current speed, it should take us 2 more days to reach our destination. During these 2 days, you can harvest as much as you want." As a fae, the Mother of Bloodbath knew very well that after a fae was nurtured and sold by Lin Yuan, it was very likely that it would follow an expert with a willpower rune. This was a great opportunity for a fae. The mother of Bloodbath recalled the arduous journey it had gone through all these years. It could not help but be a little envious of fays that could rely on humans to obtain willpower runes to be contracted. During these 2 days, Lin Yuan's wild harvests were much more abundant than when he had harvested with Fong Duo, Xianing, and the others in the Endless Forest. However, Lin Yuan had harvested relatively fewer plant fays this time. After all, it had snowed heavily, and many plant fays were hidden under the snow layer and were not easy to find. This time, Lin Yuan really did not harvest another fay that could evolve into an auspicious fay like the Dragon Phoenix Landscape Carp. Harvesting a fay that could evolve into an auspicious fay like the Dragon Phoenix Landscape Carp purely depended on luck. However, the other fays that Lin Yuan had harvested had much better aptitudes than the Mist Flame Dragonfly that he had harvested previously. These wild harvested fays were enough for Lin Yuan to use for a long time. Among them, Lin Yuan was most pleasantly surprised to harvest an avian fay that was about 50 centimeters tall and had a wingspan of over 1 meter. This avian fay was gray and looked very ugly. When Lin Yuan first saw it, he thought it was some miscellaneous bird that had been injured by other fays. However, after taking a closer look, Lin Yuan found that this avian fay was not simple. This avian fay that looked like a gray miscellaneous bird actually had a trace of elegance and a trace of the crane species fay's strength of character. Under true data, Lin Yuan found that this gray avian fay was actually a crane species fay. Furthermore, it was a young crane species fay. Among all avian fays, the rarest known ones were crane species and peacock species fays. Among them, crane species fays were even rarer than peacock species fays. Since crane species fays represented longevity and auspiciousness, crane species fays were also known as rank 1 birds. The reason why this gray crane species fay in front of Lin Yuan was so ugly was because its genes could not be fully revealed under the conditions of a lack of spirit qi. It could be said that this gray crane species fay was in a situation where its genetic model could not develop due to the lack of spirit qi. In a situation where the genetic model had yet to fully develop and show signs of development. Morbius True Data was also unable to accurately determine what kind of crane species fay it was. Therefore, Lin Yuan stored this crane species fay, which could not develop due to the lack of spirit qi, in his diamond fay storage box. He planned to bring it into the Spirit Lock spatial zone after this trip was over. Through the Spirit Lock spatial zone's massive and pure spirit qi, he would be able to absorb it. Through the Spirit Lock spatial zone's massive and pure spirit qi, this crane species fay's genetic model could develop and restore its original appearance. However, Lin Yuan was a little regretful because he had not found a defense type or thunder type fay suitable for Shi Su along the way. At that moment, the mother of Bloodbath's expression suddenly changed as its nose flapped. The mother of Bloodbath smelled a familiar, dark, and smelly scent. Third update asking for votes. Do you think it's better to be single or single? Listen to everyone's opinions. End of this chapter. Chapter 304. The mother of Bloodbath's strange and pleasant voice sounded in Lin Yuan's ears with an incomparably solemn tone. I smell a pinnacle suzerain/myth 2 fay ahead. Lin Yuan did not understand what the mother of Bloodbath meant. Although the possibility of a pinnacle suzerain/myth 2 fay appearing in the depths of this endless forest was extremely low, it was not impossible. But then, Lin Yuan frowned. He had heard from the mother of Bloodbath that this area should be the territory of a certain suzerain/myth breed fay. Otherwise, it would not have set up the no-fly order. After a fay reached suzerain, no matter what kind of fay it would have a strong sense of territory. Therefore, apart from some fays that habitually live together as a family unit, such as mandarin ducks, very few suzerain/myth fays would survive in a territory. Different suzerain/myth breed fays had different temperaments and living habits. Therefore, the rules in each suzerain/myth breed fay's territory were also different. Since the mother of Bloodbath knew the suzerain/myth breed fay in this territory, The pinnacle suzerain/myth 2 Fae that the mother of Bloodbath had just mentioned was obviously not the one it was familiar with. The mother of Bloodbath said in a cautious and cold voice. This pinnacle suzerain/myth 2 Fae's aura has a dark and rotten smell. It's the same smell as the myth breed Fae I smelled in that dimensional rift. After hearing the mother of Bloodbath's words, Lin Yuan immediately knew the seriousness of the problem. The mother of Bloodbath's expression was very grim. It was now in a dilemma. Although the mother of Bloodbath was also a suzerain/myth 2 Fae, it had just entered suzerain/myth 2. However, the mother of Bloodbath had just entered suzerain/myth 2. If it really fought head-on with a pinnacle suzerain/myth 2 Fae, the mother of Bloodbath wouldn't be able to survive. The mother of Bloodbath did not dare to say that it was a match for it. The mother of Bloodbath did not care about its own safety, but it was still carrying Lin Yuan at this time. In the aftermath of the battle between suzerain/myth breed Faes, the mother of Bloodbath had no ability to ensure Lin Yuan's safety while fighting. Lin Yuan saw the expression on the mother of Bloodbath's face and smiled brightly, revealing his small white teeth. Lin Yuan immediately took out a wooden token from the diamond Fae storage box and held it in his hand. Master gave this to me. He said that as long as I use this source-type extreme token, I can immediately release a moonlight domain. The mother of Bloodbath's expression immediately relaxed. With this trump card, as long as he was in danger, he could activate the moonlight domain engraved in the extreme token. Under the protection of the moonlight domain, no one could hurt him. I'm afraid it doesn't even exist in this world. He had helped the mother of Bloodbath survive the world cleansing, which was equivalent to giving it a new life. In the mother of Bloodbath's opinion, it was not only Lin Yuan's path protector but also its savior. Therefore, in times of crisis, the mother of Bloodbath was willing to use its life to protect them. At that moment, Lin Yuan felt the snow under his feet melt into the soil in an instant, and the land became barren in the blink of an eye. The extremely fertile land in the depths of the endless forest had all lost its nutrients as far as Lin Yuan could reach. The land had turned into a dry and nutrient-free state, and there were ravines all over it. Then, he heard an extremely desperate and angry shout. How dare you plot against me when I'm breaking through? I want you dead. Upon hearing this desperate and angry shout, Lin Yuan could feel the despair of the road ahead being blocked in that voice. There was also the anger of being cruelly injured by someone with ruthless means. An insolent and sinister laughter could be heard. It sounded a little like the sound of fingernails scratching a blackboard, sharp and hoarse. Although this voice was speaking the human language, Lin Yuan immediately sensed the unique timbre of an avian fae in it. Obviously, this voice was the suzerain/myth dark-type avian fae that the mother of Bloodbath had said had appeared in the controlled class 3-dimensional rift. If Chime's voice was said to be the most pleasant to hear among avian faes, then Lin Yuan really could not think of anything worse than this avian fae's voice. Kakik. If you weren't at the juncture of evolving to Myth 3, I wouldn't have been able to beat you even if I didn't sneak attack you. These words were insolent, but there was also a sense of shamelessness in them, as though they were weak and in the right. However, as soon as that shout sounded just now, the mother of Bloodbath's expression became very ugly. At that moment, the insolence in that unpleasant voice with the unique timbre of an avian fae slowly turned into viciousness. You just used the willpower rune to communicate with heaven and earth in preparation to experience the world cleansing. The willpower rune has already been shot out, and the world cleansing is about to arrive. I'll take out your tree core at this time. With your tree core and the world grace that will descend after you endure the world cleansing, it should be enough for me to break through my grade. As soon as Lin Yuan heard that, he knew things were not good. For plant faes, having their tree core dug out might not be like animals having their hearts dug out, and they would not die immediately. However, a plant fae without its tree core was equivalent to losing its whole body's energy essence. After a long period of recuperation, it might be able to condense a tree core again. However, during this period of condensing the tree core, the plant phase grade would always be at its original grade. Moreover, it would always be in a weak state of damaged roots. Take the cinnabar sweet osmanthus for example. In order to grow a new tree core in the spirit lock spatial zone, the cinnabar sweet osmanthus had been absorbing the spirit lock spatial zone's pure and massive spirit chi. Even after such a long time, the cinnabar sweet osmanthus's tree core still had not condensed. On the contrary, the cinnabar osmanthus haworthia, which grew on the cinnabar sweet osmanthus, had now recovered its health. It was absorbing a large amount of pure spirit chi in the spirit lock spatial zone and began to grow slowly. The mother of bloodbath gritted its teeth, and its expression was cold and full of worry. It turned into a palm-sized red spider and landed on Lin Yuan's shoulder. Lin Yuan, I'll restrain all my aura. Carefully bring me closer. Upon hearing the anxiety in the mother of bloodbath's tone, Lin Yuan immediately understood its meaning. The mother of bloodbath intended to carry out a sneak attack. However, it was also right. The mother of bloodbath was originally a fae that was good at assassination. Only in a sneak attack state could the mother of bloodbath unleash its full strength. It could even achieve double the lethality in a surprise attack. Lin Yuan quickly moved forward and held the source-type extreme token tightly in his palm. Today's first update, end of this chapter. Chapter 305. He held the source-type extreme token in his palm so that when he encountered danger, he could immediately release the moonlight domain in the extreme token as long as he exerted a little force. In the endless forest this time, Lin Yuan did not let the source sand create a large amount of sand underground. If the source sand wantonly created sand in the depths of the endless forest, it would attract the attention of the high-grade fays in the endless forest. There were also powerful fays living under the endless forest's land. If it wantonly created sand in such a natural environment in the wild, it would really be no different from courting death. The mother of bloodbath had originally planned to sacrifice itself to protect Lin Yuan when it encountered danger. However, after knowing that Lin Yuan had the extreme token from the Moon Empress, if the mother of bloodbath really fought with the suzerain/myth breed fae, it would not worry about Lin Yuan's safety. In fact, it might even be in a desperate situation. If Lin Yuan crushed the extreme token, not only could he protect himself, but he might even save the mother of bloodbath's life. At the same time, the mother of bloodbath let Lin Yuan go over because he was at best a C-rank spirit chi professional with a weak aura. Moving in the depths of the endless forest would not attract the attention of that suzerain/myth 2 dark-type avian fae. Before he got close, Lin Yuan saw a beautiful tree that was nearly 30 meters tall. This 30-meter tall tree was not conspicuous in the depths of the endless forest, where the average tree height was 50 meters. However, when Lin Yuan saw this tree, he was shocked. He felt as if he was in a dreamy scene and saw a beautiful and dreamy tree. This tree looked a bit like a banyan tree, but unlike a banyan tree, this tree had countless pink-purple flowers that looked like hydrangeas. Each of these embroidered ball-like flowers was made up of small flowers. A large cluster of pink-purple flowers was gently bunched together and bloomed between the branches. Many tree vines hung down from the branches, and these tree vines were full of hydrangeas flowers that emitted a sparkling pink-purple halo. However, at that moment, there was a large triangular hole on the tree trunk with hydrangeas. This hole looked like it had been violently pecked through by a bird's beak. The triangular hole still had remnants of dark energy slowly corroding the tree trunk. The center of the trunk, where the tree core was stored, was completely hollowed out. This plant's suzerain/myth breed fae was rapidly gathering vitality in an attempt to mend the hole in the tree trunk and the tree core that had been dug out. However, the dark energy collided with the life force that was trying to fill the hole. Under the tree, which was full of pink and purple hydrangeas, a woman in a pink and purple dress was clutching her chest. At that moment, Lin Yuan suddenly knew that there was a chance to improve Red Thorn's quality in the depths of the endless forest that the mother of bloodbath had mentioned. It should be referring to the power emitted by this suzerain/myth breed law rune. At that moment, a hole suddenly appeared in the sky. This hole was like the originally calm blue sky had suddenly collapsed, and all the blue flowed toward the hole. A brownish-red color containing a destructive aura poured out of this hole. Upon seeing the change in front of him, Lin Yuan understood that this should be the world cleansing that was about to arrive. A world cleansing started from the collapse of the sky. In just a moment, the brownish-red color containing a destructive aura poured out and burned half the sky. The destructive brownish-red flame power was concentrated on the head of this plant suzerain/myth fae. In midair, the pinnacle suzerain/myth 2 avian fae that had transformed into a middle-aged man with a triangular scar under the corner of his eye looked particularly sinister under that sinister gaze. End of this chapter. Chapter 306. Crow looked at the woman in the pink-purple dress and said cruelly, "I hope you can survive the world cleansing before you die. I hope you can survive the world baptism before you die. If you can't, I can help you. Otherwise, I won't be able to obtain the world grace after the world baptism." Just as Crow laughed maniacally and was about to lose its vigilance, suddenly, a red crystal-like blood-red law rune floated above the Mother of Bloodbath's head. A strange and pleasant cold voice rang out. "Blood law, use blood as a blade, and the blade pierces the heart." The Mother of Bloodbath's cold voice sounded. The woman in the pink-purple dress, who had been desperate and angry under the tree, had pleasant surprise and sorrow on her face. This emotion suddenly collided with Lin Yuan's eyes, and for some reason, his heart suddenly clenched. Although this emotion seemed complicated, the meaning was very simple. It was the pleasant surprise of seeing an old friend and the sorrow of her impending death. At the same time, Crow's scream sounded in midair. This scream was abnormally mournful, as if it had suffered great pain. Crow's body seemed to suddenly shrink, and the position of its heart seemed abnormally swollen under the shrinking of its body. At that moment, the Mother of Bloodbath's strange and pleasant cold voice sounded again. "Blood law, heart and blood as a blade, 10,000 blades repel." Crow's wrinkled humanoid body began to tremble violently. It was as if something would break out of its body at any time. The Mother of Bloodbath's blood law rune's power and energy were fully displayed at that moment without any restraint. When Crow felt this blood law rune's energy, the expression on its face instantly became complicated. Anger and resentment filled Crow's mind. Crow only wanted to attack the Mother of Bloodbath with all its strength and kill it. At that moment, the woman in the pink-purple dress did not care about the world cleansing pouring down from the sky. Instead, she chose to recall her pink-purple petal-shaped law rune. A kind and gentle voice suddenly rang out. "Enlightenment law, mind seal, heart stop." Immediately after, the embroidered balls formed by the pink-purple flowers all fell from the tree. When they landed on the ground, they splashed into a rain of flowers. Each petal was like a chaotic blade that could cut through the surging mortal world. The sudden rain of red flowers fell on the crows who had become lifeless the moment the woman in the pink-purple palace dress spoke of the spiritual pause. The rain of red flowers began to cut the skin of the crowman's body. Immediately after, the black blood that had been gushing out of Crow's body shot out from the holes that had been cut open. The ink-colored blood also contained crushed jelly-like solids. Come to think of it, it should be the heart that was crushed by the blood. However, in the instant that the black blood spurted out, Crow's spirit had already recovered. However, strangely, Crow did not resist immediately, its face ashen. Because the Crow knew he couldn't make it. Crow, who was at the peak of suzerain/myth 2, could clearly feel the degree of damage to his body and the loss of his life. But that wasn't what the Crow was concerned about. All Crow could think about was the sacred source life form in the sea that he had yet to retrieve. Although he knew he was about to die, fear still surged uncontrollably in Crow's heart. At that moment, Crow turned from his human form into a strange black bird that was less than the size of Lin Yuan's forearm. This strange bird looked no different from an ordinary crow. However, its fur was darker, as though it could blend into the night at any time. Lin Yuan used true data to check the corpse of this dead peak of suzerain/myth 2 crow species fae. He found out that this crow species fae was called the Night Calamity Crow. This was the first time he had seen the death of a suzerain/myth breed fae. Everything happened in the blink of an eye. The mother of Bloodbath had assassinated the crow when it was least expecting it, but the crow's death had been a result of the mother of Bloodbath. More importantly, the suzerain plant fae that was about to break through to Myth 3 had suddenly attacked. Otherwise, Lin Yuan could also see that the sudden attack of a power offense-type fae like the mother of Bloodbath. Even though the Night Calamity Crow had been severely injured during the sneak attack, it was not enough to kill it. However, it was not enough to kill the suzerain/myth 2 Night Calamity Crow. A suzerain/myth breed fae at the peak of Myth 2. At this moment, the curtains had already fallen. However, at that moment, the heaven and earth cleansing's brownish-red karmic fire had already burned the suzerain/myth plant fae's body. The woman in the pink-purple palace dress, who had already withdrawn the willpower rune, was now unable to resist this heaven and earth cleansing. The branches turned from green to yellow at a speed visible to the naked eye. The mother of Bloodbath hurriedly turned into a human form and went forward. It picked up the tree core beside the Night Calamity Crow's corpse and threw it to the girl in the pink-purple palace dress. Big Sister Xia, quickly fuse with the tree core. I'll help you resist this heaven and earth cleansing. The girl in the pink-purple palace dress looked at the mother of Bloodbath with only joy and calmness on her face. I originally thought that I would be able to leave the endless forest to find you after breaking through to Myth 3, but I didn't expect such an unforeseen event to happen. However, even if I can't leave this forest, I still met you in the end. The mother of Bloodbath's crimson eyes glowed with a crystal-clear mist. The mother of Bloodbath seemed to see a weak spider and a young sapling living together for countless years. The sapling provided the spider with a hiding place and sheltered from the summer heat. The spider helped the sapling expel the leaf-eating pests. The young spider and the delicate sapling supported each other just like that. Until one day, both of them reached the bronze level, then the silver level, and finally the gold level. In the end, both of them became myth breeds. The mother of Bloodbath thought that if it hadn't experienced its first heaven and earth cleansing when it became a myth breed, the Moon Empress had saved it and helped it break through to Myth I. In order to repay her kindness, it would have probably stayed in the endless forest. Perhaps it would have already turned into a wisp of smoke under the heaven and earth cleansing. The woman in the pink-purple palace dress didn't care about this heaven and earth cleansing that was burning her body. More than half of the lush green leaves and branches had withered in the raging karmic fire, and even the branches had been charred and broken, drooping to the ground. But even if the drooping branches looked lifeless, there was no life in them. When the withered leaves and short branches fell to the ground, the other ordinary fays on the ground grew frantically around the withered branches. When her tree core had been dug out, the woman in the palace dress knew that she couldn't survive this heaven and earth cleansing. Tonight's update at least 20 chapters. Let's do a preview. Hee hee. I hope everyone will support button and ask for book coins. Book subscriptions, tips, recommendation tickets, monthly tickets, book reviews results are very important for future book recommendations. End of this chapter. Chapter 307. Any fae, even if it was in its prime state, would not be able to survive. None of them dared to say that they would definitely be able to survive the world cleansing. What's more, at this moment, the woman in the robe was still injured from having her tree core dug out. Lin Yuan looked at the plants on the ground that were still growing wildly even on the snow, and his heart suddenly stirred. As the saying goes, fallen flowers are not heartless, they turn into spring mud to protect the flowers. In fact, these suzerain/myth breed fays were born from nature and seized the essence of heaven and earth. He was comprehending a law rune that held a trace of the laws of heaven and earth. Lin Yuan looked at the mother of Bloodbath's sorrowful expression and hesitated for a moment before taking out the life-form sacrificial fire from the spirit lock spatial zone. The moment the life-form sacrificial fire's majestic life energy appeared, it immediately alerted the mother of Bloodbath. It also gave birth to a new lease of life amidst the despair on the woman's calm face. If it could be said that in the previous moment, the woman in the pink-purple palace dress was a strong person who was forcing herself to be happy and sad before parting. At this moment, he finally saw hope in a hopeless situation. This was because the youth in front of him was holding a ray of hope in his hand. A heaven and earth oddity's life-form sacrificial fire was a plant species phase second life. Moreover, the tree core of this pink-purple palace-dressed woman, who was at the peak of suzerain stage/myth 2 and was about to break through to myth 3, did not shatter. The tree core and the life-form sacrificial fire were enough for the woman in the pink-purple palace dress to survive the myth 3 world baptism. Lin Yuan said as he threw the life-form sacrificial fire over. Senior, with this life-form sacrificial fire, you should be able to pass the world baptism of myth 3. The woman in the pinkish-purple dress looked at the glowing life-form sacrificial fire in her hand. His eyes, which seemed to be filled with love and kindness towards all living things, were now filled with gratitude. The mother of Bloodbath's choked voice was also filled with surprise. However, there was also a hint of indescribable warmth in this pleasant surprise. The mother of Bloodbath turned to the woman in the pink-purple palace dress. Big Sister Xia, this is the Moon Empress disciple. I am now his Tao protector. His name is Lin Yuan. The woman looked at the life-form sacrificial fire in her hand and then at Lin Yuan solemnly. She bowed solemnly to express her gratitude. Then, the woman in the pinkish-purple palace dress leaped up and entered her plant body, which had withered and turned yellow from the baptism of the world. The branches of the withered plant danced and directly fused the tree core and the life-form sacrificial fire into the hole in the tree trunk. In an instant, a vitality that seemed to be able to pierce through heaven and earth was awakened from within the plant. The withered branches detached from the tree trunk, and new buds grew out in an instant. The new leaves on the tree were like the flourishing midsummer that would remain verdant no matter how many reincarnations it went through. With this huge upgrade, the suzerain fantasy plantation tree was full of pinkish-purple flowers that looked like hydrangeas. The embroidered ball-shaped flowers continuously fell, and then sprayed into a beautiful and chaotic red, sprinkling into the sky. To welcome the brownish-red flames of the baptism of heaven and earth. This world baptism lasted for 4 hours. Although the mother of Bloodbath had helped at the last moment, it was considered a daunting experience without any mishaps. After the world baptism, the mother of Bloodbath had helped out at the last moment. After the world baptism, the world grace was about to arrive. The woman in the pinkish-purple palace dress gracefully walked under the hole in the sky. A lustrous white halo sprinkled down from the hole and landed on the woman in the pinkish-purple palace dress. At that moment, the plant that was originally full of embroidered ball-shaped flowers instantly grew wildly. It grew from a height of 30 meters to a height of nearly 70 meters. At that moment, under the world grace, the woman in the pinkish-purple palace dress activated the law rune. The pinkish-purple petal-shaped law rune landed on the huge plant body, and the huge plant rippled with clear and crystalline green waves. The crystalline green waves mixed with the pinkish-purple halo seemed to be cleansing the will of heaven and earth. In the end, the nearly 70-meter-tall plant body kept shrinking and finally turned into a small garland. This small garland was full of embroidered ball-shaped flowers. If one didn't look closely, it looked like a green branch supported by jade, with many pinkish-purple bells hanging on it. The woman in the pinkish-purple palace dress held it in her hand and looked at it for a moment before putting it on her wrist. This was a transformation that a suzerain/myth breed fae would definitely experience after reaching myth 3. This transformation was called body weaponization. Body weaponization literally meant that the fae's body would turn into a weapon. This way, a suzerain/myth breed fae in human form would have strength that wasn't inferior to its beast form. When the suzerain/myth 3 fae turned into a weapon and combined with its human form, it would release a stronger power. This kind of power was known as spirit return. It was precisely because of spirit return that a suzerain/myth breed fae's myth 3 was a huge dividing line. When a suzerain/myth 3 fae reached the state of spirit return, it could easily beat up a suzerain/myth 2 fae. This was because there was a huge difference between a suzerain/myth breed fae that could enter the state of spirit return and a suzerain/myth breed fae that couldn't. They weren't on the same level. Therefore, a suzerain/myth breed fae that could enter the state of spirit return was also called a great overlord. At that moment, the world cleansing was considered to have ended. The woman in the pinkish-purple palace dress was considered to have officially reached myth 3. The woman in the pinkish-purple palace dress looked at Lin Yuan and then looked up at her pinkish-purple petal-shaped law rune. I, endless summer, swear by the enlightenment law rune to become the guardian of this human who gave me a new life. I will protect him all the way and obey his orders. If I violate this oath, midsummer shall wither. With the pinkish-purple petal-shaped law rune as the main body, it seemed to be bearing the witness of heaven and earth. A pinkish-purple halo shot out from the petal-shaped law rune and landed on Lin Yuan's body. It made Lin Yuan feel as though he was looking at this world more clearly than before. Lin Yuan looked at the hole where the world cleansing had just descended and the world grace had descended. He then looked at the wildly growing plants around him, which returned to calmness after growing wildly. The soil under his feet that had lost nutrients became fertile again. All of this seemed to contain endless knowledge and wisdom. Lin Yuan seemed to have a faint feeling of enlightenment again. However, this faint feeling of enlightenment was so faint that it could be ignored. Lin Yuan scratched his head. He didn't expect that because he had taken out the life-form sacrificial fire. He had actually obtained the allegiance of a suzerain/myth 3 plant fae. Explosive updates. Start. A total of 20 updates. First update. End of this chapter. You're tuning into the A Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.